Good morning, Raptor Freaks. Lexiot's here. It is Thursday, and our season is over. We are officially done. Put out by a 10-year-old girl. Oh my gosh. I don't know how, there's no way you could write an ending to this season like this. I mean, in some ways, the game last night epitomized our whole entire NBA season this year. There was so much about last night that really echoed and showed exactly what our problems were all season. And there's so much to unpack about this game last night and where everything went wrong. I mean, we started so well. We played so well. We were dominating. We were killing them. Home court advantage. Everything fine. Everything great, except for one thing. This screaming little girl at courtside that, right from the bat, OG gets free throws right away in the first quarter. And there's a noise when he's at the free throw line and he misses his free throws because it kind of shook him. You could tell OG was getting shook by the shrieking, this eagle shriek, or something like that. I don't know. You could hear it on the broadcast really loud. And at first I was like, who the fuck is doing that? Who is doing that in the crowd? Who is our home crowd? Who the fuck is getting so loud during the free throws when everybody else is so quiet? And I'm like, who the fuck is it? And then in the first half, I'm kind of like, I want to kill that person. I really want to murder this person that's making these noises during our free throws. And I'm like wondering why are they not stopping? Why isn't somebody telling them to stop? All this kind of stuff. And then at halftime, I do a little research and I find out that it's a young girl who's sitting at courtside wearing a Bulls jacket. Then I do a little bit more research and I find out it is actually the 10-year-old daughter of DeMar DeRozan and I'm DR. And I'm like, holy shit. In some ways, I'm like, my anger and like wanting to kill this child in the first half changed to laughing because it was so incredibly funny to me in a way that is exactly who it was. In some ways, I can't be mad at this. I mean, look, we're going to talk about this ad nauseum today. I know we will. And we're going to look at this from all angles because I have really thought about this a lot, all kinds of different ways since we lost last night and even this morning, waking up and thinking about this a lot. This is just the craziest, weirdest manifestation of revenge that I have ever seen in an NBA kind of thing. We had Casey's revenge. Sure, that summer of 2018, we did two people dirty, and that was Coach Casey and DeMar. And this is the thing. Casey's gotten his revenge, and now he's done. He's retired. He's going to the front office, and he's not coaching no more. There won't be no more Coach Casey's revenge with the Detroit Pistons and the Toronto Raptors. But he damn for sure got his revenge on us, sweeping us a couple years after he left. We got them back. It went back and forth a bit, but we can damn for sure say that Coach Dwayne Casey got his revenge somehow, some way. Well, DeMar never really got his revenge until last night. This is the thing. This man was spoiling away down in San Antonio for a few years, not even getting any kind of postseason action, not getting any kind of chance. And his teams against us, he had success here and there. There were a couple games since he left the Raptors that he killed us in the regular season and got the wins. But there were more games where we beat them and we sent them packing. In fact, earlier this season, as I said earlier this week, there was a game we played, the last game we played against the Bulls in Toronto. We kicked their ass, and DeMar was so mad. When he left the court, it was like he was kicking things in the hallway on the way out, and he just looked so down and so depressed and so upset about it. And I felt bad for him at that time. I really, really did. I felt bad for him because of the whole story of the whole thing. Listen, he got his comeuppance. And I'm going to tell you right now, DeMar, you have fulfilled your revenge. You're not going to do that ever again. And we ain't going to ever see an event like what happened last night with DeMar DeRozan ever again. Trust me. Because of two things. First of all, she's in trouble. She's not going to be allowed to do that ever again. DeMar was embarrassed by it. He had no idea that she was doing that exactly in the game. And he said that she's not allowed to come to Miami now on Friday night to play against Kyle Lowry in the Miami Heat. I'm pretty sure, knowing DeMar's character and the way that he is, he's not happy with her for doing this. I'm going to tell you that right now. He's probably super embarrassed. And then the other thing that he's worried about at this point is her safety. This is crazy. I know NBA players put their children on blast like crazy. Steph Curry bringing Riley and them into the press conference. We see Fred Jr., we see Sana, we see, different children of different NBA players put on blast. Deuce Tatum, they're all over the place. In some ways, that's not totally always safe for the kids. There's a reason why Hollywood people, movie stars, hide their children from the paparazzi and from the press, because there are fucking crazy sickos out there, and there are messed up people. And in some ways, I hate that. In some ways, I know there's a section of our Raptors nation that wants to kill that child right now. I'm not lying, seriously. And there may be some people in this chat that feel that way. And I mean, I get your understanding of this, but in some ways, listen, this is a kid. Let's keep it all in perspective. In some ways, this was like a perfect storm of something coming at us that we didn't do anything about. In some ways, Wayne Strainer was exactly right yesterday. He called it yesterday. Wayne Strainer came in like a drill sergeant yesterday and told us all we cannot have any weakness. The first time we show a peace flag, a peace little symbol to the opposition, that's where we get destroyed. And he was exactly damn right. You know who I'm blaming for this? Nav Bhatia. That's who we're blaming for this. Nav is such a kind NBA global ambassador. In some ways, he's like Vince Carter. He wants to be everybody's friend in the fucking league. He's going and doing nights in Milwaukee. He's being at the All-Star game and being in pictures with Jason Tatum when he's victorious. I don't like seeing the Raptors super fan at the NBA All-Star weekend in the same picture as Jason Tatum when he's victorious at the All-Star game getting his MVP. Fuck that Nav. I know you're a global ambassador and you are our super fan, but in some ways you're too fucking nice. And in some ways I blame you for us losing last night. I can directly blame that Bhatia because he let DeMar's daughter sit in his seat. That it was his seat she was sitting in. Normally the Raptors are used to seeing friendly Nav underneath the basket, throwing the towel up and down against the opposition, not seeing a little 10-year-old girl screeching at them right away, right at the beginning. And she was right there. It was jarring. It totally affected our free throw shooting. We shot the worst free throw shooting the entire season in the most important, crucial game of the whole entire season. In a do or die elimination play-in tournament, we shot the worst percentage of our free throws the whole fucking year. We missed 18 free throws out of 36. And they can be directly correlated to this 10-year-old girl, DeMar DeRozan. This dude's little girl. That is crazy to me. In some ways, there's something very like generational like about this. Obviously, because it's a generation. It's her dad. She's the daughter. In some ways, there's something in society about generational pain that is passed down. I mean, we talk about the people that lived on this continent before anybody came here as settlers, and the generational pain, the pain body that's passed down from people that happens in their genes. This kind of thing is real, y'all. It is real. You can have a pain body that is ancestral, that comes from your experience as your family lineage. If you have a family that escaped oppression, if you have a family that lived in slavery, if you had a family that had to go through genocide, if you have any of that kind of stuff in your family, there's some trauma that lingers, and it goes through your ancestors later on. They have to suss that stuff out later on, usually. That's part of it. Well, in some ways, DR is not messing around. She wants to suss this suffering and pain from the Toronto Raptors towards her family right away and work it out and get it done very effectively. I'll tell you right now. In fact, I admire the tenacity. I wrote it in this title of this stream today. I admire the tenacity of young DeMar DeRozan. It is commendable. In fact, it is something I wish the Raptors could have shown, that kind of tenacity, the tenacity of a 10-year-old girl sitting underneath the basket, the wherewithal, the consistency, the effectiveness of her timing and her screeches were amazing. In fact, in the first half, what she did was she did it before they did their shot, and it really fucked up OG first. OG was the first victim, but they all fell to it. It's not that any of them were immune to it. The only one that was Precious. Precious was 2 for 2 at the line. He didn't let it shake him. He was the only one out of all of them. The rest of them all missed their free throws. Fred, 90% free throw shooter. We just did the trivia on Tuesday. We talked about who is the free throw shooting leader for the Toronto Raptors this past season. Fred VanVleet, 90%. 90% free throw shooter. He shot 50% yesterday. 2 for 4. 2 for 4. Freddie at the line, 2 for 4. That's crazy. When has Fred ever been that bad at the free throw line? Have you seen Fred shoot? No, he was 3 for 6. He wasn't even 2 for 4. He was 3 for 6. That's an even worse. Siakam, 5 for 11. He missed 6 free throws. And he was so fucking casual about it after the game. He pissed me off. I'm going to tell you that right now. He pissed me off because he was so fucking casual. Nah, they just free throws. Motherfucker, those are just free throws. You had 3 free throws at the end of the game, just like Mike Conley the other night, where you could have tied the game. You made the first one, and then you missed the second 2. The 2 second ones. And you fucking could have tied the game at that point. I'm telling you, once it goes off the rails at the beginning, once she was effective on OG, it went really bad for all the rest of them. And seriously, like, let's see, 5 for 11, Siakam, 3 of 8 for OG. OG shot 3 of 8 from the free throw line. You cannot tell me that young DR did not rattle OG Anunoby with the ah! And then Scotty, 4 for 7. He missed 3 free throws. You know, Jakob Poeltl, we expect him to be 1 of 2. You know, and then Fred, 3 of 6. And it's all the starters. It's all the starters. It has barely anything to do with the bench, even though the bench barely played. The only 2 free throws the bench shot, they were made. It was all the starters. 18 different missed free throws by the 5 starters of the Raptors. That is crazy. That is crazy. We did everything else so well. We were playing really good offense. We were shooting well. We were beating them at the 3-point line. We were containing DeMar, but we could not contain his daughter. And in some ways, it's crazy. All right, I'm going to get into the comments because I know y'all will have some strong opinions about what happened last night. First of all, let me do my 3 stars of the game, even though it's superfluous. It doesn't fucking matter. They lost, and in some ways, I'm mad at all of them equally. I'm mad at every single one of the Raptors. I'm mad at Nab Bhatia. I'm mad at Nick Nurse. I'm going to tell you why I'm mad at Nick Nurse in a second, and you'll understand real quick. I'm not mad at DeMar. I'm not mad at his daughter either. And I'm not mad at security or anybody for not throwing them out either. I am mad at our people. I'm not mad at any of them. I'm mad at Nav. Nav, you fucked up. Nav, you're too nice. You're too fucking nice. You were the door that opened up this whole fuck up. Wayne Strainer should be pointing a finger at you, Nav Bhatia, for being too kind and weak and allowing the Raptors to be all fucked up because of this shit. You were too nice. You're too nice. You were very, very much too nice, Nav. I'm sorry. You just are. All right, my 3 stars are Siakam, begrudgingly, 32 points. He was actually electric. He killed it. He was doing so well out there. 13 of 22 from field goal, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, 1 steal. You know, Siakam was dealing. We had a 19-point lead. What the fuck? You know, this is exactly like some of the stuff that's happened this season where we have these leads and then inexplicably, we figure out a way to lose really close game. It's crazy. We lost by 4 points and we missed 18 free throws. Fucking Raptors. What the fuck is wrong with you? So Siakam, 1st star. 2nd star, Freddie. Freddie was fine. Freddie got a double-double, 26 points, 12 rebounds. He got 12 rebounds. He didn't even get an assist, y'all. 8 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. Freddie, 7 of 13 from 3. He shot better from 3-pointer than he shot at the free throw line. That is the craziest shit to me. Fred, all year, he could have a 1 for 14 3-point game, and he would be 7 of 8 at the free throw line. Last night, 7 of 13 from the 3-point line, 3 of 6 from the free throw line. What the fuck, Fred? And yours were late. And don't tell me, this is the thing. They asked Siakam after the game about DR. And he said, I don't know what you're talking about. Bullshit, you don't know what we're talking about. You heard her. You had to hear her. In fact, if you were saying you didn't hear her and you just missed those free throws, she's a good excuse for you to have missed those free throws, Siakam. Are you going to tell me that you didn't even hear her? That's what pisses me off about Siakam, is because this motherfucker's not tuned in. He's not tuned in as far as what he's doing with stats. He's not tuned in with situations on the court. He's not tuned in with fucking things that are going on around the court. Get the fuck tuned in, Siakam, and be less casual about things, because your casualness kills us. There's something about each one of the leaders in the Raptors that kills us. And Siakam's casualness and just kind of about things is fucking killing us as far as his leadership. Fred's killing us because of just fucking being, in some ways, just a little bit too cocky and too sure of himself, but not really backing it up completely. And then Scotty's just young. He just doesn't understand yet. And there are some things that he just doesn't understand when to step up and try and take over and do things. It's crazy. Barnes is my third star of the game. 19 points, 10 rebounds, a double-double for him also. He shot well, 7 of 13. He was cooking early. He was getting us points really early. The first half, we were winning. We won the first half. The second half, they beat our ass. They started beating us in the third quarter behind Zach LaVine, carrying them. And then, boom, Billy Donovan outcoached Nick Nurse in the second half. Nick Nurse decided in the third quarter he wanted to sit on his ass on the fucking bench and not get up and walk around and do the sideline yelling or get involved in the game. He took himself out of the game. He felt real cushy because of the fucking lead. And Nick decided to sit on his ass on the bench and half-ass coach. And it allowed the Chicago Bulls to come up and overtake us and win the game last night. Nick started jumping out of his seat near the end when it got close and crazy, but it was too late, Nick. You need to be more engaged and active and fucking coaching this team in the middle of the game in the third quarter before the fourth quarter when everything went to shit, and then you fucking woke up and started trying to coach the team. Fuck that, Nick. Your cruise control in the third quarter fucked us. Seriously. I saw him. I'm saying, why is he sitting on the bench like this? It's like too casual. Once again, the Raptors are too fucking casual about shit. You take this shit seriously, you win games. You don't take it seriously, you get go-home prizes. Like the one you got last night on your own home court. How fucking humiliating. How fucking disgustingly stupid way to go out yesterday. Seriously, in some ways it's comical. I'm laughing about it. It's a tragedy that is a comedy at the same time because it's ridiculous. In fact, it's all over ESPN, and they're saying that the little girl had a big part in why we lost. In some ways, I think that's kind of cool because it is a good excuse. And in some ways, it is kind of like a revenge. She's doing this for her dad. She probably knows exactly how much pain he's felt because she's a kid and she's the oldest of his kids. And she was born here in Toronto. She has this weird relationship with our city probably because she was little when she lived here and then they moved away and then she saw daddy was sad when they moved. So she fucking probably hates Toronto in some ways, even though she was born here and grew up a little bit here. In some ways she felt very righteous in her screeching. You couldn't shame her for doing it. There were all kinds of grown-ups probably sitting all around her at courtside trying to tell her to shh. She didn't fucking care. She was like, no, I'm justified in this because this team gave my daddy the shaft and I'm getting it back right now. And DeMar, he may not have done the performance on the court exactly to take it home, but DeRozan off the court did. That's for damn sure. She definitely was defensive on the free throw lines. There's people putting stat lines for her up. 18 missed free throws, 36 screams. There's a graphic for a 10-year-old girl for our game last night. And some people are saying she was the MVP. This is crazy. In some ways, I want it to be done and over because of this. Listen, DeMar, I'm going to talk to you real quick. You have gotten your revenge, all right? You ain't getting no more revenge. You got us out in a one and done, a do or die situation. This is the first time the Chicago Bulls and Toronto Raptors ever faced each other in the playoffs. And you have made history. You beat us in the play-in. You got your get back, all right? Will you let up? Will you let up? Will you not let your daughter come to games anymore, please? Or at least sit at the games and do that anymore, please, DeMar. That's what I'm saying. That we need to have, this is over. That's the closed book. We play DeMar ever again, this is done. He's gotten his revenge on us for trading him for Kawhi last night. That's what I'm saying right now. As a Raptors fan, that's it. No more. We're going to love him. We're going to retire his jersey. Nothing's changed. We still love you, DeMar. You're a great Raptor. You always will be. This is part of the reason why we're not so mad today is because we know that this dude was owed to us. And that in some ways we can't be mad about this situation. How can you fucking be mad at a little girl that comes to the game and has the courage to do that and be so powerful and do that? That is amazing. In fact, in some ways, it's impressive to me. Because there were people all around her that were shaming her and probably telling her, shush, quiet, what are you doing? And she did not let up. And the mother was sitting there too, very much standing up for her and shaming people back for shaming her. And Nav probably was like, oh my gosh, what did I do? What did I do by bringing her to the game? He probably realized it afterwards. And he's getting hate from people right now. I mean, it is true. Drake let Charles Oakley sit in his seat. And I was like, that's badass. Drake has got Charles Oakley as his fill-in. He's wearing the OVO owl with the Raptors swag on there, even though he's a legend for both teams. He was there. That was a great use for his seat. Drake letting Charles Oakley sit there. What the fuck are you doing, Nav? Letting DR sitting in your seat underneath the basket. If we had Devin Booker on our team, he would have got her thrown out real quick. Oh yeah, he would have. He would have gotten her thrown out. Watch Devin Booker, Mister. I can't have the Raptor doing things behind me in the free throws. Oh my gosh! All right, let me read your comments. I do realize there were comments last night after the game, but they're erased. The only comments I got right now are from 9 o'clock this morning, unfortunately. So if you wrote anything last night, I'm sorry. It's not me ignoring. It's just that the comments aren't in the chat anymore, and I can't see them, unfortunately. So we'll start with Jimmy Pope, 9 a.m. Jimmy Pope was at the game last night, guys. One thing I can say as a fan, I left everything out there. My voice is completely cooked. We should have won that game. Shaking my head. I'm still in shock about it. Laughing my ass off. Jimmy, I want to commend you. Seriously, the crowd last night was fantastic, except for one little 10-year-old girl. You guys were loud right away. We could hear the defense chants right away. And I was so proud of the crowd. I kept saying that to myself in the first half. I was like, dude, the crowd has come so correct. And people like Jimmy there are a big part of the reason why. Really, really loud, really, really doing a good job cheering in all kinds of ways. But you see how powerful just one voice can be on the court and shaping the game. I think if anything, that's something we were taught by young Miss DeRozan yesterday, is that you really can have an impact on the game as one singular fan at courtside in certain ways. And that's a crazy thing. Jimmy, commendable job. Thank you for losing your voice today. We appreciate what you did. But you didn't do anything wrong, man. You did your part, and we appreciate you, Pope of Positivity, for bringing the energy down there in the right way. There's all kinds of failings for what happened last night, and we will talk about each one of them. I'm going to get in depth about this shit, seriously, because I want to make sure that we understand what's going on, because in some ways, our fan nation is turned into a dumpster fire. And now all the finger pointing is going to start. And now all the let's clear everybody out talk is going on. Well, I'll have a freak out on all that tomorrow. But today we're going to just react to the game. And I'll talk about that other stuff tomorrow. Raymond's here. Good to see Raymond Jacob again twice this week. So good to see you, Raymond. Super not cool. Cheap low win, DeMar. Shouldn't have kept her quiet and won like a real sportsman. I predict only boos next time they show their faces here. I won't disagree in some ways. I don't think that will happen, though. There's a couple of concerns here. First of all, DeMar's embarrassed. Like I said, he probably had no idea she was going to do this. Everybody who thinks that DeMar told his daughter to do this, you're wrong. He wouldn't do that. He's not like that. He doesn't like cheap things like this. He doesn't like winning cheap ways. In fact, he probably feels a little icky about what happened last night. He probably is not totally, he's proud of her to a degree, but he's also not totally proud of her. And, in some ways, I don't think you'll ever see him allow her do that again. That this is a very much a one-time thing. And I don't think she's done it to other people before. This is just a very much a perfect storm of a perfect case of justified doing this against us because of our particular relationship with DeMar DeRozan. And I really think he is embarrassed by her to a degree. Now, in some ways, he was joking after the game, well, I'm going to have to give her some money for helping us out and all this kind of stuff. But I'm going to tell you right now, the way that DeMar carries himself is he doesn't want to win like that. And I'll tell you right now, it is kind of cheap. It is a kind of cheap way to do it, but there's nothing. I mean, somebody bring the rule book out last night and saying if there's a fan at courtside that is interfering with the game consistently over the period of the game, that the officials can throw them out and get them out. But this is a PAR nightmare. How the fuck are you going to throw out a Raptor legend's 10-year-old daughter as a visitor in the game, especially when they're sitting in a seat with the super fan? It's just, you can't do it. I know people were like, why didn't they throw him out? You can't do that, though, in some ways. And she's not doing anything actually that wrong. She's just very smart and effective at what she's doing. It's crazy. Now, I don't know if we'll boo them. I don't know if we will. In some ways, Raptors Nation just needs to eat this one and say, look, we're square now. That's really what we got to do at this point, is just kind of square this up with DeMar. That in some ways he really has gotten his full revenge for getting traded for Kawhi. And that's just what we're going to have to say as Raptors Nation at this point. That it's all, we're square. We're square. There's nothing like, we don't feel like we owe you anything anymore for that happening. That now you've eliminated us with your daughter in a do or die situation for this season. And this will always be a part of this legend and this story. And it is very effective. That's what I'm saying. She literally took us out of the playoffs. And I really do give her MVP. Like if I did 3 stars for the other side, sure, Zach LaVine would be talked about for taking over the game and going crazy. You know, I hate when Siakam talks after the game and Fred, they talk about how great Zach LaVine was. Oh, he just took over and he took over the game. Stop being so fucking casual about it, y'all. And fucking stop his ass. Seriously. And then Nick Nurse, of course, overplays the starters like fucking crazy. And then he wonders why they have no juice at the end of the game to take the game home or win the game. Because you fucking overplay them like crazy as usual. You know, Doris Burke's on the ESPN broadcast saying she admires Nick Nurse for riding the starters so much. And I'm like, fuck you, Doris Burke. I hate it so much because we're going to see the faults in it. And we've seen the faults all season, that we're ineffective in closing minutes of games because our guys are absolutely dog tired from being ran ragged for the whole entire game without ever putting any bench minutes or getting any bench reductions. You just rely on those 5 guys and run them the hell to the ground. And then in the last 5 minutes, you expect them to be Superman and rise up to the Bulls who are playing at a higher level all of a sudden. Yeah, it's just not going to happen, Nick. And that's why you're a poor coach to me at this point. And I want to see you get fired. In fact, if you're fired this morning already and I don't even know it, okay, then that's just how it is. Because this really is the first thing we need to do is we need to coach. We need to get a new coach because I'm just sick of this. Nick has checked out. I don't trust him. I don't believe he gets the best effectiveness out of our team. I feel like these guys could have been coached way, way better this year, that in late game situations, we were disarray. We didn't have organization and we didn't look capable at closing games out that were close and winning them like we did in the past. I'm very, very worried. In fact, at this point, at the end of our season, I'm more worried about the Raptors than I was going into the season. In fact, I feel like we've regressed and we're not as good a team as we were when we started the season. And when you say something like that, that means it's a fucking fail of a season. And I'm like, what the fuck have you been doing all season, Nick? You haven't been building towards anything. You've been giving us bad habits, doing horrible rotation decisions, and causing us to have all kinds of stupid ass ways we lost in some ways. Like, were you really sabotaging this year? Because in some ways, last night even looked sabotaged in a way. I know the free throws being missed, but fuck, man, you took the second half off coaching. Seriously, I was looking at him. I was like, why is he sitting on the bench? Billy Donovan's up and walking around on his sideline, and Nick's just sitting there next to Earl Watson, casual. Then all the fuck, he stands up 6 minutes to go in the game when things are going fucking crazy. And then he starts trying to coach. And then we start seeing him squat in his squat position. Yeah, too little, too late, Nick. You were too casual about coaching that game. You fucking slept on them. Oh, 19-point lead. We got this. You know, in fact, in the first half, I was telling myself, all right, I'll let this, you know, if DeMar's daughter is going to scream and we're going to miss free throws, well, we just got to win. And it looked like we were so overwhelmingly beating them. I was like, all right, I can deal with the missed free throws, even though there's abundance of them and there's a lot of them, as long as we win, even if it's like that's part of the crazy subplot. Well, we didn't fucking win. And it did become a big issue by the end of the game. An 18-point issue, an 18-point swing in a 5-point loss. I mean, even if you make half of those free throws that you missed, which would be 9 of them, you would fucking win the game. Even if you made like almost just over, like if you made a quarter of them, you would tie the game. That's so fucked up, Raptors, that you lost on one of the most fundamental and basic things that little kids in elementary school can do to win games, making free throws. That you fucking can't do it at this professional level, and that you fail in the biggest game of the season with the easiest part of being a professional in the game is making fucking free throws. Seriously, Raptors? That you want to show it that way, that's how we're going to go out? It's not going to be the three-point shooting, Lex. It's not going to be the field goal shooting either. It's going to be the free throw shooting that we're going to lose our season on. That is so fucking like pathetic. Seriously, it is pathetic. All right, Let Me Cook is here. Let's see what Let Me Cook has to say. This is a fan from Philadelphia Nation, and I'm gonna be very curious to see what Sixer fan has to say about our very disappointing loss last night. Salute Raptor Freaks. Sorry for the tough loss. I got to watch a little of the game in a tough fourth quarter. Just my opinion. 18 for 36 from the foul line, and the lack of bench really hurt. Both exactly right. Philadelphia fan can see it. I mean, listen, when is a team, in fact, in some ways, the stats about our 18 for 36 free throw shooting last night. There's not many games that this has happened in the regular season, let alone in a do or die elimination game. Like, that's pathetic, seriously, because in some ways that shows me these guys wanted to die. If it's do or die and you're going to miss free throws, well, you don't want to play anymore. And I'm sorry, with Nick Nurse, with his fucking stupid ass press conference before the Philadelphia game, the end of the season, actually killed our season right there. And I'm telling you, none of these guys were checked in or playing correctly ever after that. We won some games against Charlotte. We won against a really shitty Milwaukee team, and that's it. But otherwise, they were just going through the motions. They didn't give a shit. If they really wanted to keep playing, they would have wanted it more than Chicago and DeMar DeRozan, and they would have won last night. They had the home court. They had everything in their favor. The referees were being kind to us and were actually giving us a lot of calls. James Williams was pretty good last night. And, even Kevin Scott didn't piss me off. And Mitchell Irvin, woo, he was really helping us out last night. We had a helping hand of the refs, and we still managed to lose. That is so pathetic, Raptors. Oh, my gosh. MSJ saying a little girl had more fight in her to win than the Raptors. This is not untrue. And this is part of the biggest problem with the Raptors right now. The tenacity and the fight in DeMar DeRozan was greater than the Raptors as a whole. Everybody is crazy. And the idea to keep her quiet, team is too nice. Fans love the players too much. The kid was right to scream. It was working. Kudos to her. Yeah, you can't hate that. She was very smart with it. I mean, I've employed this tactic. I can't hate on her for it because I've done it at games to the opposing team in the Scotiabank Arena. In the lower bowl, somebody's playing, we're playing Cleveland, and Jared Allen's at the line. I do the same damn thing. I know how it works. I've done that. I know the timing on it, and I have been effective at it myself. So I can't hate that because it's actually a tool I've employed at the games before myself. So in some ways, I get it. But she was so on it. Like, that's a good example for Raptors Nation on how to be tenacious about the defense chance. Did you see how she did it every single time? And even if she was late, she did it for a little bit afterwards. The first half, she was doing it before they'd shoot. And then she kind of wait until after they shot. And in some ways, what she was doing was playing off the hesitation or the anticipation of her doing it because they knew it was probably going to happen. There were a couple of free throws where Scotty was shooting in the second half. And he was like I think he was waiting for her to do it, but she wouldn't do it right away. And he would miss. And then she would do it after he shot because she was kind of mixing it up. She'd time it before the free throw was shot. And then near the end, she was waiting and then doing it in their follow through. It was like very, very artistic. Honestly, I have to commend her on her cheering and what she did because honestly, that was top level stuff. And it was super effective. Super, super effective. It honestly was. Holy crap. Yeah, the lack of bench. Oh, my gosh. And you're right. Let me look at this real quick with MSJ saying, the idea to keep her quiet, the team is too nice. We can't do anything about this. I mean, in some ways you could, but you can't. I don't know. It's like Nav could. I don't know if Nav was trying to do anything right next to him. Please don't. No. And then maybe they're like, shut up, Nav. You gave us these seats. We'll do whatever we want, is what DeMar's wife and daughter were like. I don't know. It was crazy. And there were points where I'd look over there and I would see her arguing a little bit with people around them. Like, she was very much defending her daughter's right to do it. And you could tell she was a little bit worried. DeMar worries about social media stuff. Like, he deals with depression and putting things on blast. In some ways, I would think that he's a little bit worried about his daughter's safety in some ways, or just online. She's gonna be notorious for this. In fact, in some ways, she's now famous, and this is maybe not good in some ways for her. I don't know. I just think that it's a weird situation where children of NBA players are getting involved in NBA storylines. And in some ways, DeMar doesn't want this headache. I'm sure he doesn't. And in some ways, he was saying, "Oh, she went viral. I didn't know she went viral." Yeah, she did, and that is not necessarily something you wanted, I'm sure. And that's the crazy thing. Jimmy's saying 18 for 36 is bonkers. Laugh out loud in an elimination game too. Like, damn, I know, Jimmy. We're gonna go out. We might as well go out like a big flaming, steaming, on fire piece of turds in the corner kind of thing. Like, let's really go out in a dramatic way. And it's so crazy. The whole year, our 3-point shoot, our free throw shooting has been suspect, but we've had more problems with field goals and 3-point shooting that I haven't really concentrated or talked about it. But it was always something this whole entire year that's like the Raptors are shitty at free throws when they matter. And we haven't made free throws like disciplined enough this season. In fact, we're not a very good free throw shooting team. Well, it did show up and bite us in the ass right at the end. Right at the end. Fiercey's here. Good to see Fiercey Salsera. Good morning, fam. So disappointed. We can blame DeMar's daughter all we want, but as professionals, that's in all caps, and this means she's exactly right. Missing 18 free throws is unacceptable. Also, Nick Nurse not putting OG Precious on Levine, blatant or deliberate fail. Yeah, and people are coming after Fred in the second half for his performance not being very good at guarding Zach LaVine. And you're right. That's exactly who we should blame is Nick with the coverages and stuff. See, this is why I think he's pulling games. He's like shaving points. He's shaving wins for us because he's smarter than what he did last night. That's why I don't think he fucking cared. And he was sabotaging us the whole year. There's weird shit about this team this year that makes me think that Nick the whole time was just on the down low, fucking a bad person for us, toxic on the down low. Because in some ways, yeah, you see it, Fiercey. Why the fuck is Fred guarding Zach LaVine when he's absolutely hot like that? Why aren't you fucking switching somebody like what you just said, OG or Precious or Scotty even, to that guy instead? Yeah, all kinds of fuck ups. You should have put a cap on Zach LaVine as soon as you saw him starting to cook. And you didn't, Nick. You failed. You failed in so many ways. I'm ready for you to go, bro. Please, please. And just him. I don't care. After that, Masai can decide what the personnel with the team is. And nobody's coming after Masai. I'm going to tell you that right now. You may think that Masai is one of the people that needs to go this summer, but you're fucking crazy too. Nick Nurse needs to go. The front office is fine. They're going to fix things. They're the ones who need to fix things. And hopefully they'll keep Fred also. I know some people are wanting Fred out now, and they're all about getting rid of him. We'll start with Nick Nurse, y'all, but don't go after any of the players yet. And we want to see what Masai Ujiri does as far as with the new coach. And then we'll see what he does with these contracts as far as Jakob, Gary, and Fred. And if he's going to do any big deals to shake up the chemistry on this team, to try and make the team just better. Because in some ways, we're very talented. We should be way better, but we're not disciplined. And we're not fundamentally good. And we're not directed well. And we have poor leadership. We have faulty leaders with with faults. They have faults. You know, Siakam's too casual. Fred is, in some ways, he is a good leader, but in some ways, he's not respected in some ways, and the way he should. He really should be respected better than he is. But in some ways, people don't because he's undrafted, he's short, and all these other things. But, and then Nick's not a good coach, and he's lost the team to a certain degree. I can tell. Let's keep going. MSJ saying at Fiercey Salsera, yes to all you added. And you were right to say those are more than reasons, but the game will go down as the Scotiabank Screamer. That's actually not a bad nickname for her. So Scotiabank Screamer lost, and it is embarrassing. Legacy of the game. Well, in some ways, listen, what were we saying this weekend? It's kind of like I kept saying we want Dr. Kevorkian to come and put us out. Well, it was Dr. DeRozan. But it wasn't the DeRozan that plays on the court. It was Dr. DeRozan of 10-year-old on the bench, on the court, at courtside. That was our doctor that gave us the lethal injection. Half the Raptors fans wanted us to lose this game because they didn't want us messing around with the postseason anyway. In some ways, this is good for our lottery. Once again, we were playing like no lose scenarios. Well, listen, we've equaled our debt with DeMar and the revenge thing. We've ended our season, so we don't have to fucking play this charade with Nick Nurse that he likes coaching us anymore, and any of this bullshit with the players and the problems that could go further with that. So in some ways, even though the game happened the way it did last night, in some ways, I'm just glad it's fucking over. Because what were we going to do anyway? If we were going to drag this out just even further, if we had beaten Miami on Friday also and gotten a first round series against Milwaukee, that may have been just more extended torture for Raptors fans for this season. We probably might have gotten swept. Did we really want to get swept by the Bucks in the first round when we've never lost to the Bucks in the playoffs ever in the history of our franchise? There's a lot of different things we could say about dodging this bullet. This isn't our year. It's not like we have long legs to run in the playoffs. We have too much dysfunction. We're not fundamentally good, and we can't hit free throws. So how the fuck are we going to get far in the playoffs? So yeah, this is kind of a mercy kill in some ways. And I'm all about it. Euthanasia for an NBA team administered by a 10-year-old girl at courtside. And hey, whatever. It's all good. It's all good. Let's see. All right, where am I going with this? Nameless is saying, I can't believe the daughter and mother were not chicken winged out of the building by security. I'm so upset with the in-game ops more than the team. What do you mean the in-game ops? You mean like the security? The in-game ops is like the entertainment on the screens. You mean like the security guys? You mean like the ushers? You mean like the people that should have came and said, hey, they got to go. Maybe our team is too nice. There's another aspect to this you got to think about, Nameless. This little girl is somebody they know, because when Fred and Pascal and Pirtle were rookies and DeMar was on the team, she was a little child, and like they knew her because she was a little kid, and they would pal around probably just like they know Fred Jr. The players know each other's kids. So in some ways, Fred and Pascal seeing Dinar over there doing that, DR, is kind of like, oh, well, what am I going to do? That's DeMar's kid. I have to respect DeMar. She's an extension of him. And they're not going to get mad, or they're not going to do a Devin Booker to her, because it's in some ways they know her because she's family in some ways. And that's the crazy thing. It's like they may have held her as a baby when she was little, and like, oh, and now she's grown up and now she's like fucking them up in a game. So there's a lot to it. And I mean, seriously, in some ways, fuck, when you're in there with Nav, you are untouchable. The security guys aren't going to do shit to you. You could probably fucking do some crazy ass shit at the game if you're sitting next to Nav Bhatia, the super fan, because he knows everybody there. He runs that little corner of the court. And the security guys, they are going to just listen to Nav, and they're going to say, what do you want, Mr. Bhatia? You're going to say, oh, it's okay. It's fine, security. No, you don't need to do anything. And they'll be like, okay, Nav, we're fine. We won't do anything. It's like that with him. So I didn't expect them to throw them out. I expected her to maybe shut up a little bit. I was hoping that maybe when they switched ends of the court in the second half, we wouldn't hear her as much, but we did still. And she wasn't right in front of them. She was behind them at that point. But she was still very audible on the telecast, and everybody at home was like, what the fuck is that noise? Everybody was like, what is that eagle noise going on at the game? And more the mystery unraveled. I was like, well, if there's one person in that arena that should be allowed to do exactly what that little girl did, it was her. It was her. If it had been any kind of random stranger, Chicago Bulls girl fan that came with their family to be at the game at courtside, I would be fucking pissed. Like, I would be very angry, like the angry mob in some ways, coming after somebody like that. But because of who it is specifically, they're absolved. You can't get mad at this. In fact, in some ways, you have to respect it. And you have to kind of like, wow, all right, kid, good job. I don't know if this has ever happened in an NBA game ever. And this is why the NBA is so interesting, is because every single fucking game is like a snowflake. There's always a different pattern to every game. There's always something different about it. Sure, there's certain players that get averages. You can kind of count on them to get a certain amount of buckets, do this on the court with rebounding and stuff like that. But you never know the X factors of an NBA game and what could come in. And now we know that the crowd and different things around the game can actually very much influence the game. And this is crazy. This is crazy. This game will be infamous and notorious in our history for a long, 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 long time. And that's why I want to make the best of it, guys. When you have these kind of games where you look so shitty and you can't fundamentally do the most important thing, which is the easiest thing, the free throws, you really do need to make some sweeping changes. You really need to look in the mirror, and you need to recommit yourself to being a professional Raptors. Because in some ways, this year was not a very professional year in all kinds of different ways, whether it's the coach did not act professional this season, whether it's some of the players did not act professional this season. They did not hold a professional standard in how they performed on the court. And is this a part of the culture that DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry built with our team? In fact, I'm a little worried about that. It's gone. That everything that Kyle and DeMar built over their 10 years or so together here on our team, the institution, the things that we do, the pillars, characteristics about the Toronto Raptors franchise, I think it's all out the window at this point, because there's certain things that just aren't getting done. There's certain pride things. There's certain things. In some ways, I know there's somebody on this team that fucked it all up from the inside. And in some ways, I really think it is Nick. I really, really do think it's Nick. Nameless is saying also, they let a 10-year-old girl beat us 45% from free throws. No, it's 50%. Exactly, 50%. Absolute horseshit. What was that hit job sanctioned by the league? Was that sanctioned hit? That's what happens when the babysitter needs a sitter. Well, this is the story. Apparently, DeMar was like, she asked to come to the game. And she had to miss school to come to the game, apparently. And DeMar's like, you can come to the game, but you only miss one day of school. And he brought her to the game. Well, he regrets it. I'm telling you, he does not like this. He doesn't want all the extra scrutiny and attention on her, first of all. It's fine to have a little bit of, she's in the public eye, but he doesn't want her to be in the headline. He doesn't want her to be on blast like this. And in fact, he's lucky that it's the Raptors nation and we love him so much. Because if he had not had a history with us and she was just a random, like if he had never played for the Raptors and she showed up and did that, first of all, she wouldn't be sitting there, because the only way you get to sit there is if you're Raptors family. And that's Nat Bhatia, unless he's bringing T. Morant or some other people. Nah, don't fucking bring other people from other teams and let them sit in your seats anymore. Seriously, I think you learned a lesson last night in some ways. But that's what I'm saying. If it had been any other little girl, it could have been a Patrick Williams. It could have been any of these other Chicago Bulls players. If it was their daughter and did that, we would hate them. We would be coming after them with pitchforks and torches. But because it's DeMar, you can't get mad at this, because in some ways it's making a right. I mean, making a wrong right. Is a wrong was done to DeMar in a way, and this is kind of righted it out now. So I really want Raptors Nation to take this as we're evening the score with DeMar, as far as like doing each other wrong. That now his family has done us wrong in this situation. And I know that in some ways they're not equal. In fact, he still probably is owed way more in some ways because of all the time spent with us for so many years building our team up. And then we win a championship the year after we trade him. In some ways that is way bigger than this, but in some ways this kind of a huge deal, because they just single-handedly took us out for the whole season and ended our season. It is crazy. I couldn't have predicted this. Seriously, how the fuck are you going to predict that one of the players' daughters is going to come to the game and totally have a huge impact like that? Seriously, that's never happened. Honestly, I cannot remember an NBA game where this has ever happened like this before. And it's blatant. It's out in the mainstream media. They're very much championing this whole storyline because it's the damn truth. You can just look at the stats of the free throw line and see her consistency on it. And you can see where she really rattled these guys. Like, it's crazy how bad they all shot. Every single one of the starters missed free throws. It was like I said before the game yesterday, Raptors, I want you to have your player spirit animal be Jeff Doughton Jr. because of his consistency, his making good decisions, is being correct and just doing good stuff all the time. I want him to be your spirit player for the game. Well, our spirit player for the game last night was Jakob Poeltl. We shot 50% at the free throw line. And in some ways I hate that because it wasn't the right one. And sure, we had the grit, we had the rebounding, we had the size, we had all kinds of good stuff in those ways. But the free throws absolutely killed us. Oh my gosh, it's crazy. All right, check your own cruise here. Let's see what check your own cruise is saying here. Not necessarily our friend, but we'll see. I'm not saying what the little girl did was necessary illegal. Road teams, especially in the playoffs, always deal with stuff like that. What made it cringe was how quiet the arena was as she was screaming. Yeah, well, that's just the normal thing, right? Check your own crew. You know this. When you're at your home and you have your home team shooting free throws, you want it to be like where you can hear a pin drop. And that's why her noise was so pronounced, because everybody else was doing a very good job of trying to be quiet except for her. And that's why she was really, really standing out. In fact, in some ways, this is a technique that can be employed if you're brave enough to go into enemy territory and do this at a courtside seat in Philadelphia or Boston or LA or something like that. See if you can do that and get away with it with the people around you in those arenas. I don't know. And it could be even, they care more about competitive advantage in Boston, that the security may actually come and throw you out if you did that kind of shit to them on their home court like that. I'm just saying, this is a perfect storm of this. Is the exact right person that could get away with doing this. If this was an average fan, they may have been thrown out last night. Like if it has been Susie so-and-so, Susie Carmichael from Joliet, Illinois, who came with her dad, Mike, and they were sitting at courtside, I think that she might get admonished or at least told. I don't know, maybe not. Because what are the line of the rules as far as things? I mean, the rule can be interpreted. If you're continuously interfering with the game, that's interfering, but how do you know if it's actually, you can blame the little girl screaming for why the professional basketball player does not make professional free throw attempts? I don't know. It's crazy. How do you do that? Leslie's saying, good morning, Raptor Freaks. It's been a roller coaster season. We lost that game yesterday. We won 3 quarters, but we couldn't close it out. Shaking my head. We actually didn't win 3 quarters. We won 2 quarters. We lost the third and the fourth. They completely outscored us in the second half. That's part of how they came back on the 19-point lead, is they had to win both of the last quarters. And Billy Donovan was really smart. He outcoached Nick Nurse last night. He told his team not to give up. In fact, he was very much like we've been in the past, where we'll have be down by 19. He said, don't give up. Keep fighting. Keep plugging away. You're going to get your chance to come back and take over and win the game. So kudos to Billy Donovan for keeping them on track. In fact, there was a moment where DeMar got pissed off and they had to bench him, and he was sitting on the bench. You could tell he's really upset. He ripped the towel. He wasn't happy. We were stymieing him. They were guarding him really well. And Zach was kind of like just about to start exploding. And they came out on the court, and I saw Zach and DeMar talking to each other for a second. And then after that moment, Zach LaVine just went off. He just went off and went crazy in the game and got the high score for any individual player in the game last night, 39. And I was like, holy shit. And this was very calculated by Billy. Billy Donovan looked at how to land the plane to get it to the point where you will get the lead at the end of the game. And this is something we've done as a team very well in the past. But in some ways, Nick didn't stop them. He fucking just sat there and let them kind of come back. He was late on calling timeouts and reacting to them coming back. He was late on substitutions. He was fucking horrible with the rotations. He said, what he said in the press conference last night? And in some ways I was like, okay, fuck, you fucking finally fucking listen to me now at this point. And he said, I tried to keep 4 starters in there at all times and mix and match with the bench. Like, I've been fucking asking you to do that all fucking year instead of wholesale changes, hockey line changes with the bench and the starters, where you put out 4 or 5 bench guys all of a sudden in the second quarter and we fucking get demolished all of a sudden. So you're finally actually fucking doing this, but you didn't do it enough. In some ways, like, we look at the minutes for the Raptors off the bench, and it's the totals. We got 8 bench points last night. Now, it's not that they didn't get to play a whole lot. That's really the main reason why. But they shot 3 for 13 off our bench. We made 3 field goals off our bench. That's no good. We need at least a little bit of bench production. And meanwhile, on the other side, it's White and Williams for them getting points, getting 19 points between the two of them. Patrick Williams was huge late in the game with his defense and his attack in the rim. And then Kobe White, 4 for 4. They could not find that dude, and he was doing little things late in the game to help them also. So their bench dudes stepped up when the starters were getting a little tired near the end and gave them that extra boost going to the end. Nick, that's what Chicago did. Why can't we do that? Gary was absolute dog shit. I'm kind of really pissed at Gary Trent Jr. because in some ways, Nick was questioning his injury the last month of the season and said, I don't really think he's that hurt. I'm wondering why he's not coming to practice. I'm wondering why he's not trying to play. And I think that they miscalculated with Gary. I think that they thought they were being smart and we'll hold him out. We'll hold him out. And then we'll let him ramp up for 2 games, the last 3 games of the season, the 2 Boston and the Milwaukee game. Well, fuck that shit. He needed longer to get in his groove because he wasn't in his groove again last night. In fact, he was 0 for 5 from 3 last night. And any one of those fucking threes that he could have made last night would have helped. In fact, that really important 3 that was wide open in the fourth quarter at a very key time that he missed pissed me off so bad because that's you got one fucking job, Gary, in some ways, and that's to make threes. You had 5 open look threes that you missed all 5 of them. I don't want to re-sign you, bro. If you're coming at us for some money, some people were saying on Twitter last night, you might as well just take your contract year for this year and not even try and opt out. Because in some ways, you ain't going to get no more money because you didn't really look that good this year at certain times, and especially in that game last night. So, yeah, I'm pissed at Gary because I'm mad at him taking too much time off at near the end of the season. He needed to get back and get in his rhythm quicker, and he didn't. And we needed him very badly last night. All right, let's keep going. Fiercely saying, you'd think a coach supposedly specializing in defense would make smarter plays to control that one player who's going off. I'm mad, Nick Nurse. Pretty sure you had already planned a trip as of Friday. I think they honestly did want to win last night and get to Miami, but they didn't. Their fuckery this whole season caught up with them. Once again, there's certain things about the Raptors being too casual in this NBA this year that have caught up to them at bad times, where they lose games that they had like 20-point leads and the team comes back and beats them, where you have a brain fart and a bad defensive decision right at the end of the game, and all of a sudden we're losing by 1 point or 2 points. We don't execute in the last 5 minutes because nobody can make a shot. It's all very fishy to me. It's all very fishy to me, especially when we seem like we were more like competent in the Tampa year with that Tampa roster. It seemed like we had more of this kind of intangibles and these kind of things as far as a team, as far as cohesion and smarts to close out games and play hard and play good defense with the team with Yuta and Rondé Hollis Jefferson, Terrence Davis. That team in Tampa was better, and they're less talented than this team right now. And that's the thing that pisses me off. It's like we're losing some of the dog factor on our team. We have talent, sure, but we don't have the hustle. We don't have the grit. We don't have the dog of Kyle Lowry. And we don't have the kind of the get up and get after it, trying to win at all costs kind of mentality that we used to. This is what's scaring me. The Raptors are not being the Raptors like they're supposed to from the last few years. And some people are saying on Twitter, Twitter and Facebook today that, the Raptors have lost all their goodwill from their championship. Fuck you on that bullshit. They don't owe us anything. Everybody who thinks they owe us championships after championships after championships, get over yourself, you entitled fucks. We are fucking fans of this team, and we ride with them on this roller coaster as they go up and down. And there's only one winner every single year out of 30. And it's very much a hard thing to do. So everybody who's like championship or bust all the time and who's upset about this, okay, casuals, go ahead, see the door. Because you're not going to be sticking with us on the Raptor Freak crew, because we're going to be here no matter what. And we're going to be here all summer. We're going to suss this out and talk about this all summer on this channel. But everybody who had a problem with what happened last night and think, the Raptors aren't serious. Well, if you're not serious about being a fan of theirs, go ahead. There's the door. You don't have to hang around. You don't have to be in our spaces online. You don't have to have an opinion. You don't have to be a fan. Go ahead. Go get in the baseball season. Follow the Leafs on their playoff run. Whatever you have to do, because nobody's forcing you to be a fan of our team. So if you have a problem with them going out the way they did or them not being a championship team, well, then just go ahead and turn it off. You're always welcome back down the road. You don't have to be like us in the trenches 24/7, no matter what. And, that's just going to separate the casuals from the real ones, like the Raptor Free crew, because we will be there every day. That's right. Let's see. All right. Kareem is here. Good to see Kareem Thomas. Screw McDaddy and Nav. You think Jack Nicholson, Spike Lee would allow a screaming child sitting courtside ruin everyone's experience? Nav or Sam could have told a security guard to give that a warning. No, he brought them there. Nav is directly at fault for this. He brought them to the game as guests. He put it on Instagram at the beginning of the game, said family is here. And she was sitting in his seat. That's what I'm saying. He's not going to throw them out. He's going to invite them to the game. Oh, come to the game with Nav, the super fan, and sit underneath the court. Sit at the court, DR and DeMar's wife. And she was literally sitting in the seat that he sits in normally. So, oh my gosh, Kareem. No, he's not going to throw them out. In fact, he'll protect them before he'd throw them out. And that's the thing. I'm a little annoyed with Nat Bhatia being an all NBA kind of fan at this point. He's transcended his Raptors fandom to being a super fan for the whole entire league, and he's a celebrity with other fan nations. So he goes and does other events with other fan nations, and he does. He's very friendly with everybody around the league. I understand that, but in some ways, you're like Vince Carter, and I don't like that. And in some ways, now Batia, you really hurt us last night. In fact, I can directly point a finger at you in some ways for this, because I don't think she would have got such a good seat, so close and so prominent to screw up our free throw shooting if you hadn't let her sit there. Where would they have sat otherwise? Maybe behind the Chicago bench, maybe over in a corner, maybe just somewhere in the 100 section up, like maybe 12 rows up, but not right on the fucking court, right underneath the basket where the Raptor tortured Devin Booker a couple years ago. That's the difference. She was his guest. She was his guest. Fiercely saying, frankly, won't be too hard on them. This is a result of someone not trusting his bench the whole year and playing starters freaking 45 minutes out of 48. No wonder they were gassed towards the end. Yes, and yes. Fiercely saw Sarah. I'm going to say this right now. I'm mad at individual players for certain things last night, like missing free throws or Gary, like I just talked about. But I'm not blaming them for the whole kit and caboodle. I'm blaming Nick. He's my scapegoat for sure for the season. And I want to absolve a lot of people because I don't want a whole bunch of like people in Raptors Nation coming out with shotguns trying to spray everybody down. Say it's your fault, your fault, your fault, your fault. Blame game all over the place. No, let's be like the NBA with the referees and have a patsy. The patsy, Tim Donaghy, said he was the only ref that was cheating. He's in charge. He was in charge. He's the only one. Get rid of him. And yeah, we know he wasn't the only one. But this is what we'll do. We'll do that. We're going to patsy Nick Nurse, blame everything for this season on him, fire his ass. And, in some ways, we need to protect our players from the rest of Raptors Nation because people are going to go even further. They're going to say, get rid of Fred, get rid of Siakam, get rid of this player, get rid of that player, get rid of Masai. And I'm like, no. You don't take that much of this good stuff that we got here down that far. You've got to just pick and choose and be very smart and surgical, Masai Ujiri and Bobby Webster, about where you cut things out of our franchise and where you plug in new pieces, because that's really what it is. Some people are saying a direct rebuild, complete rebuild, demolish the whole thing, ship them all out and start all over. And some people are saying, just get rid of everyone. Where the fuck do you want us to start as an expansion team? Get rid of the front office, get rid of all the players, get rid of all the coach. We'd be like we are in 1995. And that's stupid. That's not sound. We've got three different departments. We got the front office, we got the coach, and then we got the players. I only want to go to one of those three areas and get rid of one of them, and that's the coach. In fact, I think that we may have Earl Watson or Adrian Griffin step into the coaching duties this summer, and we may see dramatic results and changes with how the team performs next season with a much healthier, better coach. That is the change I want this summer. It is evident that Nick Nurse has checked out on us. He has different aspirations for what he wants to do in the future, and we cannot have him around. And he needs to go. And it's not that Fred needs to go too. It's not that Masai and Bobby need to get fired either. It's just that Nick needs to leave, and we need a new coach to come in, take over, and start their own kind of set up things. So part of what a coach does is they instill values in the system of what they do. And some of the values for our team are gone. These guys are not we've just talked about it. The fundamentals, the things about caring, the pillars that build towards winning are gone in the structure of Nick Nurse's thing. They're not bought in anymore because they're not executing on the things that allow for that to happen and be in the foundation of your franchise. There's a whole bunch of stuff we did really well like a year ago and the years before for like 10 years. It is out the window at this point. In fact, in some ways, we've developed backwards as a team this season. We have less cohesion. We have worse shooting. We have a worse late game situation like outcomes. These are all things that we were way better at like a year ago when we were playing against Philadelphia in the postseason last year. And that's why I'm mad. It's like, Nick, you did not develop us. You regressed us. And that's why you need to be fired. If you're fired today, I won't be upset. Seriously, I will not be upset if he is fired today. Don't waste any time. Seriously, Isaac Campbell is here. You cannot blame a child for the season. Laugh out loud. Raptors failed to appreciate next man up and building up bench depth. That was job number one. From an organization perspective, they failed to stay in their lane. Isaac, I can't fault anything you're saying here. I can blame her for last night, but it's not even that I blame her. She just did what she did. You go. I can't hate you. I can hate the game, but I'm not going to hate the player. You go ahead, DeR DeRozan, and do your thing, and make Daddy proud. And in some ways, you're getting get back for him. And in some ways, like I said, there's trauma in that family from the Raptors, and that is a manifestation in the shrieks of her voice coming out at us, and it's almost like a shrieking banshee coming at you, a spirit from the past, wah, coming at you to haunt you for injustices you did in the past. That is very much part of what this is. And you can't get mad at that. In some ways, she's justified. In some ways, she has license. And I can't get mad at her for that. In some ways, it's ingenious and crazy. It's not what Billy Donovan or DeMar DeRozan expected for how they would get that victory last night. But they are probably very much intrigued and proud of her to a degree. But also, once again, understand the Bulls' integrity is not cheap like this. They're not going to try and get wins like this all the time. I'm going to tell you, this is a one and done. You're not going to see this happen ever again. In fact, DeMar's going to not allow his daughter to do this ever again. Like I said, he's not that kind of guy that likes cheap wins or winning in cheap ways. So he's probably going to forbid her from ever doing this ever again. In this way, what happened last night, it fit. It fit the scenario. But is he going to go down to Miami and do this to Miami? No, because Miami, there's no beef with Miami like DeMar has with us. The beef is between her and Kyle. I mean, the beef is between DeMar and Kyle just as friends and friendly rivalry. But that she has no reason to go down there and do that to them. That's part of it, too, is that she would only did this and had the bravery to do this because of the situation with her father and our franchise. That I don't think she would do this at any other game in any other arena with anybody else. Seriously, I really do believe that. Let's see. Sue saying, well, that game summed up the season. Flashes of brilliance. Yes, the beginning started so smooth. Such nice, equal, attacking. Scotty was doing nice things. OG did some nice things. Pascal was doing nice things. Fred got hot. In the first half, both Fred and Pascal had really good periods of time where they were cooking, and they're both in double digits by halftime. In fact, I think Pascal had 19 and Fred had 11 or something. And Fred was hitting shots from all kinds of different places, mixing it up with outside and inside. They were talking up the legend of OG Anunoby. They really were, like Doris Burke and Mark Jones on ESPN last night, were setting up, trying to give OG a prop up for Defensive Player of the Year candidate kind of stuff. They really talked him up. But then the outcome of the game kind of really fucked that all up and kind of made everything kind of sullied and look bad. But they were trying to make us look good. The ESPN broadcast, they were really impressed with us. They were talking us up the whole game. And then, of course, we embarrass ourselves by the end of the game with all kinds of bullshit. And then it's all about DeMar's daughter and, not about OG and his defensive presence stopping her dad. And those kind of things. They were really talking him up for a while during the game. And I was like, yes, this is the kind of steam on national television in the United States. The perception of OG being one of the top defensive players in the league was getting put out there, in the words of Doris Burke. But it all got fucked up and thrown out the window. Nobody's going to think about all that. It could have been OG's game to be a spotlight and get more shine for Defensive Player of the Year. But no, the Raptors fucked up, and they gave the spotlight to a 10-year-old girl sitting at courtside. That's fucked up. They were really pumping up OG and giving good propaganda to get him on a defensive team. Well, that all went out the window. Oh, my gosh. All right, let's see. Yeah, and Sue's saying 0 droughts, D falls apart, 1 bad quarter, and nobody to take over to close. Overall, just shows the inconsistency we had all year. We beat us and no bench contributions. Yeah, that's a really good short list of all of our faults and our problems this year. We didn't really have any bad scoring droughts. I mean, we did late in the fourth quarter. We had a hard time scoring late. We scored all our points in the first half. We had 58 points at halftime, and we only scored 47 in the second half. They had 37 points in the fourth quarter. And that was a huge, huge problem when we're supposed to be shutting their water off. They're talking about OG shutting them down, clamping them down, and we let them score 37 in the fourth quarter. That's way too much scoring. Where's the defense at that point, Nick? Where is the incredible genius defensive ideas to shut them down? Where you're letting them fucking score 37 in an elimination game in the fourth quarter, Nick Nurse? Where's the defensive effort by the players in that situation? Horrible, horrible nightmare of a season. It's over. Thank God. We can move on. Let's just put this in the addition for the 2022-2023 Toronto Raptors season. Close that chapter and let's move forward thinking about good things and how to retool and get our team right again and right kind of vibes and a better coach. Let's see. Nako's here. Good to see Nako the Nacho. Well, at least we're in the lottery. Fred, Pascal, Scotty, and OG I thought were pretty good. Everyone else just no-showed free throws. Well, it's just the free throws. And you know what? I can't give these guys credit like you're giving them, Gerald, because it's a collective effort, and they stunk. They all collectively missed free throws. They all fucking didn't stand up and do something at the end of the game. They let Zach LaVine be the player of the game and take over and be the man. You know, they all are at fault. I can't say it. Like, Siakam has a great stat line, and I give him the star of the game for us. But in some ways, he failed miserably when he missed 2 free throws late in the game. He failed miserably when he missed 6 free throws for the whole entire game. He himself, if he just made 3 of those free throws, we would only lose by 1, and then somebody else make 1 more free throw, we would tie. There's so many different ways we can look at this. You know, OG did a really good job defensively for most of the game, but did he do well at the end of the game? No, he didn't, because we didn't see them stopping them in any kind of way. Jakob Poeltl, in some ways we could come down on him for, you know, he was kind of weird and awkward at times. He had 5 turnovers. That was the big problem, is that he kept losing the ball in weird, awkward ways. They were having a hard time. As Nick put it in the press conference, in the second half, the Raptors had a hard time connecting passes between each other. There was a couple times where Siakam was trying to get the ball to Jakob, and they botched that play, or like the Bulls would play a really good defensive job and get in between them and steal the ball in the passing lane, or they would irritate Jakob when he was trying to catch the ball and he'd lose it. So there was the turnovers and the disconnection between the Raptors in the second half, as far as completing passes successfully, really hurt us in the game last night also, because it hurt our offensive output, and it also allowed offensive opportunities for them in transition, getting steals. And that was a real mess up. In fact, the turnover battle was very key last night. They had less turnovers than us. In fact, we had 16 turnovers last night. This is not normal for us. In fact, if we're in a do or die game where we have to play absolutely perfect, we should not be doubling up on our normal average turnover output. That, you know, normally we get under 10 turnovers a game. Like this season, we've been brilliant with not turning the ball over. And in a crucial game, we turn over the ball more than ever, like than we have in like months. 16 turnovers is way more turnovers than we've had in months. We usually get around 10 at the most. Sometimes we have 6 turnovers for a whole entire game. Sometimes we have 8 turnovers. But having 16 turnovers yesterday, that really fucking hurt us. And a lot of them came in the second half from just bad passing, like I just talked about. Let's see. Monique is here. Good to see Superfan Monique. She was at the game last night also. Let's see what she is saying. Jump. Let me get back to where we're at in the chat. Make sure I don't miss any of your important comments about the game last night. And I will be giving you kudos, Wayne. Don't worry. When I get to you, I will be giving you kudos for what you said yesterday, because you were exactly damn right, Wayne Strainer. You called it right on the head when you said what you said yesterday. Oh, wow. I like seeing all the different names here. This is awesome. Okay, Monique saying, good morning, everyone. Fourth quarter woes wasn't pretty in the arena. I'll bet after the game, everybody was dejected and felt weird and leaving. You know, it's funny. DeMar, before the game, was sharing stories about something he loves about the Toronto crowd. He was talking about how when we played the Cavs that one year and we took them to 6 games and we lost to the Cavs on our home court. That was the year Bismack was on our team. When we lost that game, the Raptors fans gave the Raptors standing ovation, even though they lost the game, for playing a great season. And that touched DeMar DeRozan, because it really showed like the heart. You know, he really does love us. And like he said so many glowing things about here. He became a man here, that this will be a home to him always. And, you know, there's all kinds of things that there's nothing but love between him and us. And that's why I can't get mad at him and his daughter about last night. He said that he loved the Raptors crowd for cheering them and giving them a standing ovation after they lost and were eliminated to the Cavs that year when Bismack was on our team. And that meant a lot to him because that showed true passion and love, just unconditional love for the Raptors from our fan base in that moment. And I wish we could be more like that as a fan base now. I feel like our fan base's characteristic has changed since we won the championship. And I hate that. There's too many bad fans in our fan base that just jumped on because we won a championship. We need more of the old people that would stand and clap for a losing Raptors team in an elimination game like that. Now, there was no reason to clap for them last night after the game like that because there's no honor in the way they went out yesterday. But in some ways, they're very much as it was at that time. And it's really cool that DeMar looks at that moment as being a key moment where he really felt loved by our fan nation, like unconditionally. And it's true. All right, let's keep going. Leslie's saying, guys, we can't blame DeRozan's daughter for our loss. We were up by 17 at one point, Lex. I did mention free throw practice, ice baths, and now Cancun. Well, we can to a degree. I mean, she is a part of it. I mean, ultimately, you're right, Leslie, that they had to make the free throws and they had to be pro. And I mean, they go on the road and they play against other teams. And there's people yelling and throwing everything around and there's crazy noise. I think it's because it was so silent and she was just so good at timing it with their rhythm and what they're doing. OG really got thrown off. Like, OG's a really good free throw shooter. And when I saw him missing those free throws, I was like, that girl is directly hurting his ability to make free throws right now. And she did. She very much was a factor. Now, you could say, okay, they need to be pro and just block it all out and just be that much better. That's what means being a professional. You just block it all out. And you're exactly right. That does make total sense, but it didn't help. And it could have been also, in some ways, when you're at home, you feel like you're at home. You don't have the same kind of mentality as being on the road. And maybe they didn't have the preparation before the game to think that they were going to have to deal with somebody in the crowd that was going to act like an away crowd. And that may have threw them because they were in the comfy confines of the Scotiabank Arena with a whole bunch of people outside in Jurassic Park. That there's one fan that came to the game, that's daughter of one of the players on the other team, that has such a huge voice that canceled all 20,000 of the other people that are in the arena that were for the Raptors. That's what I'm saying. The Raptors need to be professional and tune her out and make the free throws any goddamn way. And Precious was the only one immune to it. And that's impressive to me. I also don't like that Siakam and other people are saying, oh, I didn't even know she was doing that. Well, what the fuck is your excuse? You're just a bad free throw shooter then? Because you should have known. You knew. Come on. I know for sure that OG, Scotty, and Freddie all missed free throws because of her directly. You could tell. You could tell. And even Pirtle, she was messing with Pirtle pretty bad. But he did make one of the ones where she screamed really loud. And I was proud of him. I was like, Pirtle, you made it. Yes. So crazy. All right, Guardian Transit is here. If you cannot shoot the ball, you cannot win. Well, that makes a lot of sense for basketball philosophy for sure. All right, Masai Ujiri mortgaged the team betting on his boys at the trade deadline, gave up 2 draft picks. You're not going to luxury tax with this team. Okay, I think you're getting ahead. All right, listen, everybody's critical about what we did at the trade deadline. I still agree exactly with what he did. I still believe that we are a good team. It's just that we've been very poorly led this year. That is the biggest problem with our team. It's not our talent. It's not whether we're good enough or not. It's just that we have horrible leadership. And it's leadership not at the front office. The front office leadership is right. It's the coaching leadership, and then it is leadership with our team captains on the team. That we just need a stronger leader. I know Fred wants to be this, but in some ways they have fucking discounted him and sidelined him as being the strong, like, number one leader. There's a leadership power struggle on the Raptors that needs to be sussed out and needs to be, like, respected in the hierarchy. And that's part of the problem, I think. I think that because Siakam's our number one, like, scorer, and he's kind of not that kind of leader in that kind of way behind the scenes, there's a void. And Fred should be that leader, but in some ways they're not allowing him to do that, people on the team. And I don't know why it's like that. They should be letting him be Kyle Lowry for us right now. That is who it should be. But in some ways, because Fred is not respected as the leader on the team, I guess that they've rejected him. So what the fuck are we gonna do? We need a player leadership that is very defined, like a Michael Jordan would be to the Bulls, like a Giannis would be to the Bucks. We need that kind of leadership on our team. We lack it. And then we definitely damn for sure need a coach that's going to instill principles and ways of carrying yourself and ways of being a professional with excellence that will get through to these players. Because in some ways they've lofted, they've slacked. They're kind of not. They're too casual about things this year. You can tell there's a lot of things that they don't care enough about, that they don't take care of, that matter. And that is something that really matters, is like doing fundamental good things to play really well to add up to the win. And there's some things fundamentally we don't do well as a team right now that we need to get back to the basics on. And oh man, there's so much. Not going into luxury tax with team. Well, once again, I'm going to trust Masai. Front office can do whatever the fuck they're going to do, and I'm just going to blindly say, yeah, all right, let's do it, and hopefully we'll get better results. We're in the mud, and this is the thing. Not things with the NBA teams go smoothly all the time. You're going to have rough patches. You're going to have hard things happen, and we're just in one of those for our franchise right now. Every team goes through this kind of shit. Every single one of them, all 30 teams, has rough patches. And we're just in one like this. And the Raptors fan nation just doesn't know how to deal with it in a very healthy way. They get all crazy and Chicken Little, and they get even more toxic and make it even crazier by stirring it up even worse with some of the shit they say online. So be ready for that. That'll be part of the biggest things that I'm going to do on this channel, is fighting the misinformation and all the stupid, crazy rumors and stupid shit that's going to be coming out this summer. There's going to be a lot of dumb opinions. There's going to be a lot of people moaning and groaning that they're not doing enough, or they didn't do this, or why did they do this? They're going to second guess all kinds of crazy shit. And as it all happens during the summer, I hope you'll join me every day. I'll be here every day, 9:30 in the morning, keeping up to date on everything day to day, as far as the changes and the things that happen with our team. I will be on top of it. Alex is saying, Fred MVP 000. I'm not going to read it the way you want me to, Alex, and watch yourself. You might get strikes today. I am in a bad mood. I might have to have a offering of anger as striking somebody out and kicking them out from this channel. So watch it. You don't want to be that guy today. I'll make you that guy. Nameless is saying, I hate that little kid. I hate that kid now, and I'm not ashamed. See, there's going to be a lot of people in Raptors Nation that aren't going to look at it as a 10-year-old kid. They're just going to hate them, because in some ways there may be parlay bettors that were like betting on the Raptors to lose. Well, some of them may really hate her now. You know, there's going to be people in our Raptors Nation that are very toxic and crazy and aren't very good people that may want to like hurt her. That's what I'm saying. This is why DeMar doesn't want this, is because in some ways, you know, fan nations are crazy and stupid, and she put a target on herself. In some ways, she's going to have this for the rest of her life. And so they don't even necessarily realize this, that much like Bill Buckner or somebody else did something in sports history, it got a lot of crap later on. In some ways, there may be reverberations from this. There'll be a lot of people like Bulls fans are going to love her, just like we love Fred VanVleet Jr. But there's going to be Toronto fans, and I'm not saying there's anybody crazy, and I don't want anything bad to happen to her. But the toxicity in fan nations around the league, and in Toronto fan nation specifically, there's going to be a lot of ugly, fucked up shit that people are going to write on Twitter and social media spaces about that little girl that isn't fair or right, and misses the whole entire point that this is a 10-year-old girl. That is the first and most important thing that you need to realize in this whole situation is this child. And this isn't an adult or somebody like that. And check yourself. If you come in too hateful or in any kind of violent way about what you want to do to her. But I hear you, Nameless. In the first half, I felt the same way. But when I found out the identity of who was doing it, I was like, I laughed. I was like, how can I fucking be mad at this? I just can't be mad at this. We did her dad wrong. And in some ways I can't. John Doe saying we can still murk the child. John Doe, good to see you. 9:30 a.m. every single morning. I don't even know what murk means. I don't even know if I want to. Cowboys here, bullshit, but whatever. Let's go, Raptors. Next season, DR was awesome. Thank God for kids. Laugh out loud. DeMar was awesome. Yeah, it's funny. In some ways, it's hilarious. In a way, I have to laugh about this. In some ways, it softens the blow of ending our season on such a ridiculous premise and reason why. In some ways, it's just like, you know what? This is this kind of season. This totally makes sense to end the story this way. I mean, seriously, that why not treat us to such a great, dynamic, impressive first half of like great functionality, doing great things on the court, making us all think we're going to cruise to the win with a great double-digit maple syrup lead. I was thinking about it. Oh man, they keep this 10-point lead well into the fourth quarter. We can avoid James Williams and his crew doing anything screwy with the whistle, the referees. But no, that lead shrunk and they ate it up and they took it away. And then boom, all of a sudden in key moments, they're ahead of us. And we're in our anemic offensive state where we cannot respond with any baskets. You know, Zach LaVine's going in scoring threes and bombing. We have nobody making anything at that point. Nobody. Siakam made a desperation dunk, running in, and that was pretty good. But nobody stepping up, being a hero, doing anything to take us home and win the game for us. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Kareem saying DeMar DeRozan may have started a trend that could affect all 32 cities in the NBA. Courtside seats could be filled with screaming toddlers and very distraught babysitter. All right, Kareem. You wanted it, you got it. You got it. I hope you're not right, but you're getting a dunk. You're getting a dunk for that. That's a dunk because that is hilarious. I hope this is not true. I hope that, holy crap, what a waste of money. If somebody's going to, if teams start employing like kids to do this at games, if we see any further trend of this, I'm going to be like, what the fuck? I really do feel like this is a special case, a very, very specific special case. And that DR really does have a vendetta that she holds from her dad against us. I mean, she's old enough to understand the history between the Toronto Raptors and her father. And that's what I'm saying. That's why I think this is a very special case. I don't know if she'd have the gumption, tenacity against any of the other NBA teams to do this. In some ways, it is very much a grudge. And that is why she did it. And that's why I don't know if this will be commonplace, Kareem. I don't know if we're going to see a trend of this. I really hope we don't. In some ways, if we do, I'd like it to favor the Raptors next time instead of against them. This is so crazy. Eric Jacobs here. Good to see Eric Jacob. Actually, one of our very original Raptor freaks. He was here at the very beginning almost 2 years ago. And I appreciate seeing Eric, who resides in Zimbabwe, I believe. He's in Zimbabwe. Raps need a new sports psychologist to teach that a big lead is no cushion at all. In today's NBA, with the crazy scoring, the jacked up offense, this is so true. There's no way to get cushy and just comfortable. The whole 48 minutes, all 4 quarters, all 12 minutes each quarter, you got to be ready and playing the whole time. You can't take time off. And that's why I feel like we've been lazy this year. There's been patches of time where they've been casual and took time off. And that's what I'm saying. That's been a problem this whole year. And it reared his ugly head in the second half in different ways. And in fact, like I said, Coach Nurse sitting on his ass for most of the game, not standing up and running up and down the sidelines, being an active coach, just sitting back and watching them play. And when they fucked up, he finally went, oh, and then he got all upset. And then he jumped up out of his seat and started to coach at the last second to try and like hustle to get it because he thought he was going to win. He fucking thought he was going to win. And he didn't realize his team was going to shoot so poorly at free throws. Really good to see you, Eric. I hope you've been great and glad to see you back. Random Gamers here. All right, we got Philly fan, another Philly fan in here. Let's see what he's saying about what happened to the Raptors last night. An unbiased view. Let's see. What up, guys? Sorry for the loss. I was rooting for you guys to beat the Bulls. You guys will come back stronger next season. Thank you, Random Gamer. Appreciate that. And in some ways, good luck with your run against the Brooklyn Nets and whatever is coming up for you guys in your playoff. I can wish you well the other way since we're not facing each other. And also, congratulations. It does look like your big man is going to be the MVP, at least from the initial ballot returns from the public voters. The people that are on TV are saying that Joel Embiid is looking like he's going to be MVP. And that's rightfully should be that way. So I can get behind that too. But thanks for the well wishes. And I appreciate you thinking we'll be better next year. I really hope that's true. Last year playing you guys, I was very confident after the series that we were going to be very strong this season. I was wrong. And I had a very strong confidence going into this season that the Raptors were going to be awesome and in fact be way better than they were last year. Well, I was wrong. They regressed. So in some ways, when I come into the season coming up, I'm going to be a little bit more pessimistic about what to expect for the Raptors as far as projecting them with their results next season. I'm going to be very, very much more grounded and not pie in the sky because they don't give me any reason to think that they're going to overachieve or do things correctly because they're not right now doing those things right. As above, so below. Gary Trent Jr., 17 minutes, 2 points, and Yak played bad as well. 37 minutes, 7 points. That was a hard way to end. Embarrassing. In my opinion, Trent wants 20 million. Laughing my fucking ass off. As above, so below. Thank you for being here. Yeah, I didn't like the Gary Trent stat line. I'm not as mad at Jakob. The 5 turnovers, the worst things with him. We don't expect Jakob to score points, though, if you're mad at him for that. I don't care that he only got 7 points. Anything he gets as extra is great. It's the free throws, it's the defense, it's the rebounds. Those, I mean, it's not the free throws. It's the rebounds, it's the defense, it's the screening, it's the passing, the things that I like about Pirtle. I don't care about him scoring as much. It's not important for him to score. In fact, 7 points is exactly fine. If he could have made the extra free throw and been 8, that would have been fine. But the worst thing about Pirtle was the turnovers. I can't get mad at him as much. I'm more mad at like Gary, Pascal for the free throws late, and Fred. Fred also missed some key shots late too. So those are the guys I'm more mad at than Jakob. I'm not really that mad. In fact, let's read Jakob's write up after the game on Facebook. The Jakob Pirtle 11 hours ago. Tough one to swallow. We followed the game plan and had things under control for 2.5 quarters, building a 19-point lead, but turnovers, a lot of missed free throws, and mistakes on defense let it slip away. Thank you for supporting us this season. Jakob Pirtle, 19, Toronto Raptors. Yeah, that's it in a nutshell. I mean, don't even sugarcoat it. That's exactly right. No mention of Miss DeRozan, though. You could have put that in there, Jakob. Let's see. Guardian saying, if that would have been a regular fan there, they would have been removed. I've watched many fans get removed being too vocal on the sidelines. That's probably true. That is probably true. You know, I was trying to see, like, I always wonder about the courtside seats, how loud they're allowed to get. Because if you're very loud, like if I was sitting down there and I started yelling, they probably would throw me out. You're right. And I wonder if there is a difference just because of that. That's what I'm saying. I think this is a very special case. And it's just a perfect storm of circumstances that allowed for this to happen. That I think that Guardian's right. And I could, this probably makes sense. You know, they were getting onto those guys at one point. Caruso was trying to inbound the ball, and there was these fat guys standing at the sideline. They're like, James Williams, move them so I can move down the sideline if I want to pass it. These dudes wouldn't sit down. They just kept standing there like, we're not moving. We're going to stand here and just fuck up Caruso. And Caruso's like, all right, fine. And he passed it in anyway. But yeah, there's always going to be kind of like because of the proximity of the crowd with the game, there's these opportunities for the crowd to bleed into factors on the game, whether it's somebody spilling a drink on the game surface and they have to pause to wipe it up and get all the beer off the court, whether it's like a fan saying like nasty things to Russell Westbrook about his family or something like that. There's all kinds of different ways that things happen near the court where the fans can be involved with the game and have a factor. You know, they had flyers all around the seats down there. When we sat down there with Tom Duke and Greg and this David and Peter Saborin, that they have flyers on there that say, if you are acting too loud or acting too crazy, we will throw you out. So they had the warning in the seat when you sit down. And I think this is right. I think that if it was a regular fan, they might have gotten thrown out last night. But I don't know. I don't know exactly what the line is. It'd be interesting for me to talk to some of my usher friends that work at the Air Canada Center, Scotiabank Arena, and some of the security guys and see what that threshold is, where the line is for them as far as what they see on what somebody would have to do for them to get tossed like that. But I think because she was Nav's guest, she wasn't going to get tossed no matter what. Let's see. Tom Duke saying DR is a Bulls fan hero for sure now. Yeah, for sure, Tom. This season totally sums up this game totally sums up our season. Yeah, no more feeling bad for DeMar. He was not upset about it at all, in my opinion. Well, you know, it's not that he's upset. He's worried, probably. This is how I read him. He did not like they didn't come into this game like with this plan. Anybody who thinks that DeMar told his daughter to do this, you're crazy. He did not. He had no idea. It's just like any dad. Your kids do crazy shit and you didn't realize they were going to do something crazy. This is that kind of situation. And like I said, he may be happy because they won and it did work out really well for them. But in some ways, he's probably not proud of it. And like I said, he doesn't want to win in a cheap way like this. And that in some ways, it's embarrassing to him. And I'll bet you is not going to allow it to happen again. And he's probably not totally comfortable with her being in the public spotlight so heavy. Her face being on the front page of ESPN today is not probably something that he thought would ever happen. And he probably doesn't like it on the down low. I'm going to tell you that right now. Most of these times, these guys may put their kids on blast to a degree, but there's certain levels of putting on blast. And I don't think that he's comfortable totally with her being so famous at this point. And in some ways, it'll be good for her, but in some ways, it may not be totally good for her in some ways. We'll have to see. Let's see. Randolph saying, beloved Raptors freaks, most informative gang. Tough way to end our season. The game was there for the taking. Words are not enough. Yeah, it is what it is. In some ways, like I said, I'm not as mad and upset. In some ways, I have to take this joke of a season as a joke and just laugh at it. Anybody who got so emotionally involved in the season, I mean, we get that way because we're dealing with it all the time. Me doing this channel, if I'm not that upset about it, then other people that are in the Raptors Nation that are getting so upset about what happened last night, chill the fuck out. I've done a stream every single morning this whole entire season, put so much time and effort in researching and covering this team, and to have them go out like this last night, and I'm not mad about it, you shouldn't be either. Because you didn't put in all the hours like I did on this live stream. And that's what I'm saying. So look, if we can be not upset about this here in the Raptor Freak Nation, all the casual fans, all the fans that are indignantly upset and angry and coming with pitchforks and torches towards the team right now, just shut the fuck up. Seriously. Real ones ain't acting like that. Real ones that stuck through and put in the time. You know what? It is what it is. It's a joke. We can laugh about it. Let's move on. It's like stay present, Oh my gosh. Pachuli's here again. Good to see Pachuli G. Nothing funny about it. If this was a different child in a different arena, this would not fly. I love DeMar, but his child is a brat. Unacceptable. I think that's fair. I mean, I will get behind that. She is a brat. I mean, I can say that, but in some ways, you got to respect the brat's game because it was very bratty what she did. Very, very bratty. I think that you're right. I think that, like, once again, I said it, the specifics of this case allow for this to happen. But in a lot of cases, like if this was like, all right, what would be the equivalent? All right, let's say in the Philadelphia series, it's just about to start. Let's say that if Ben Simmons, he doesn't have any children, but let's say if he had a child and they showed up at Philadelphia for the first game of the Philadelphia series with Brooklyn, and they were doing the same thing that DR did underneath the court. What do you think Philadelphia fan would do to Ben Simmons' child that was sitting under the court? What do you think would happen in that situation? What do you think would happen with the people, the security? Now, in some ways, because he's a player's child and paid for that seat, they may get this protection from security and the usher that they can go ahead and do it. But think about how their crowd would be towards them and maybe how Sixers Nation would treat, especially somebody who's not ingratiated in their fan nation. Like Ben Simmons is a villain, somebody they hate, the opposite of DeMar DeRozan, what he is for us. Just imagine how that would all go down. And just imagine how the Philadelphia fans would treat a young daughter of Ben Simmons if she did the exact same thing that DeMar DeRozan's daughter did last night. That would be a crazy scene, a very crazy, scary, maybe dangerous scene. And that's what I'm saying, that I think that this is a very specific case that may not be able to be duplicated in any kind of way, whether it's because the security would come and take the person away, or it's just that it's like the situation because our fans, because we're Toronto, we're Canada, we're nicer, we're more polite. In some ways we let this happen on our court. It's in Nabadia. Honestly, he's the epitome of this in this situation. The ambassador, the welcoming ambassador to everyone. Welcome Toronto. Come sit with me and stuff like, yeah, you fucking invited the murderer of our season to sit at the table with you, Nav, and come sit with you, Check your own crew is here. Sometimes controversial. Let's see what they're saying. Is this the most disappointing end to a season with much higher expectations in Raptors history? It feels like it is, or at least goes no. No, 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 no. More disappointing. The game 7 loss to the Boston Celtics, more disappointing last year. Those were more disappointing. I'll say both those were more disappointing. Sweeps in other years, disappointing. Sweeps to LeBron, sweeps early in our playoff history. Losing to Vince Carter and the New Jersey Nets in the playoffs. After he left, that's more disappointing. This is probably not even in the top 5. I'm going to tell you that right now. Check your own crew. If you're trying to come in here and kick a carcass because it's on the ground, you're like, oh, the Raptors, they lost last night. Let me come in and rub it in on them in the Raptor Freak chat, in the comment. I'll say something. Just fuck off if you're trying to come in and do that. Because honestly, this season is not that bad in that way. This season, we did not have the expectations in this postseason. So why the fuck would we be upset about this? In some ways, they did us a favor last night and in our season earlier. So in some ways, we can suss things out quicker. In some ways, people were just ready for us to be done anyway. And they were like, just call an uncle anyway, end our season. So in some ways, they did do a Dr. Kevorkian for us last night, Dr. DeRozan, and put us out of our misery. So that's what I'm saying. It's not a disappointment when you didn't expect anything good to happen anyway. It's when you expect us to get by Boston in a game 7. It's when you expect us to play better against Philadelphia last season because we were hurt and we didn't have the best effort in game 6 when we should have had a better chance to extend it to 7 games. There's a lot more disappointing moments to end the season than on a 10-year-old child's shrieks. In fact, in some ways, it makes it comical and kind of funny, and it kind of eases the pain, honestly. In some ways, my pain was laughing last night. I was like, this is so ridiculous. You couldn't have written this script like this. This is very much like he posted Michael Corleone earlier this week, DeMar DeRozan, on his Instagram, and it was a family thing that came in. He had a family hitman in his team with his daughter coming in. It's very familiar, very mafioso kind of shit. It's like Road to Perdition with fucking Tom Hanks when the son takes the gun and shoots something. That was exactly what that was last night with 10-year-old DR taking the gun and doing the job, the dirty work. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So yeah, don't even come in here with this trying to, what you're trying to do. You're trying to trim this with more misery and sadness for us. Fuck that shit. We will laugh at the comicalness of this whole situation with our heads rised up, held high, and we will be fine. And no, don't try and paint it with more adjectives to make it seem like it's worse for us. We don't fucking give a shit. We've had much worse endings to our season than this. This isn't even top 10, if you ask me. We've had way worse. So don't even. All right, Wayne Strainer saying, bullshit. I don't believe it. I heard it. My wife heard it. It's, however, on the organization to allow it. The damn players should say, DeMar, shut that fuck down. That's what nice gets you, a loss. See, Wayne was the guy saying this yesterday. And I knew he was right. And I did not understand it would be this way, Wayne. That you said it. You said we ingratiate ourselves. Whoever does like the nice thing first will lose. Well, Nav did the nice thing, and it did cause us to lose. Now, Wayne, I want to the credit of the Chicago Bulls. I have to tell you this. At one point, I caught the coaches, the assistant coaches of Billy Donovan, trying to tell DeMar's wife and her to shut up. At one point, they were like telling them to go, like they were doing this to them. In the middle of the game, the Bulls coaching staff was telling her to shut up, and they were doing this. I caught them on camera at one point, and DeMar's wife was like this towards them. So they were actively from Billy Donovan's bench telling them to stop doing that, but they were defiant. And it wasn't even just that. Like the two of them together, the wife and the daughter, were like a solid. She protected the daughter from the people around them because there were adults near them telling them to shut up too. You could pick it up at one point. You could hear her scream, and then somebody said behind her, "Stop doing that! Stop doing that!" It's crazy. It's so crazy. What a crazy fucking ending to our story this year. Oh my gosh, what a crazy story. Kindness. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. Exactly. Fiercely saying, I guess she exposed us in the sense we showed no resilience or mental toughness. All this on national TV. How embarrassing. I know. That's another part of it. I mean, you look at the first half, they were talking glowingly about us. Mark Jones talking about Toronto this. They were really building us up. They were saying this is such a good team in this way and that way, building up OG, building up Fred, building up Pascal, talking about Pirtle as an addition, talking about Scotty and how great he is, all this great stuff. And then in the second half, it all went to shit. And we embarrassed ourselves by the end of the game. And I mean, this is just kind of like people have said, this game yesterday embodied our whole season. That everything that happened this whole entire season happened in this game. Like mental breakdowns where we don't actually pay attention. We're not playing very well. Letting a team come back, having a big lead and squandering it and still losing at the end. So many different things about it. And I think you're right that we don't have a mental toughness to this team that we used to have. That's part of the dog part that I'm trying to talk about that we've lost over the last 2 years since Kyle's been gone. And I hate that. Fred, you were supposed to keep this dog mentality up on our team. And in some ways, I know you're trying to do it. And maybe I really do feel like these guys won't let Fred be the kind of leader that he needs to be. And it could be that he's a hard-nosed, tough leader in some ways different than Kyle. Kyle was kind of lazy in some ways. But Fred is very much get to work. Let's do it right and get it done right. But it may be that some people have rejected his leadership on our team and don't want to fucking listen to him. And that is part of the dysfunction. I hate that. I don't want that to happen. In fact, I'm detecting that they don't listen to Pirtle either. That Pirtle is a very good leader on the court as far as a defensive leader and talking and communicating. And I feel like some people are not listening on the court or not paying attention to their vets. And I want them to fucking start listening to their vets and getting tuned in as a team. Because seriously, there's a hierarchy on basketball teams. There's a captain, there's important leaders, and the people that are under the leaders need to listen to them and follow them because they're usually more experienced and know their shit better than the people that are below. And that's something that we really need is a hierarchy on this team as far as who's leaders of what and how it's very much like the military. Y'all need to respect the ranks above you. And if you don't, then what the fuck are you doing on our team? Then you're not a good NBA player because you're not a team player and you don't respect the hierarchy of leadership. And that is something that the Raptors need to suss out and get people to respect the hierarchy of leadership on this team. Because I don't feel like people respect Fred as him being the captain. Forget about the fans. I'm talking about people on the team. They need to listen to his ass and try and do what he says. Let's keep going. Nako's saying some of the calls towards the ends got a little BS. Well, this is the thing. The refs saw an opportunity near the end. They didn't have any chance to change the game until the Bulls did the work to come back and make it close. Well, that's good high drama. Of course, in some ways, once they make the comeback, they want to make that the part of the story. So the refs will start hand-holding the Chicago Bulls at the end of the game to finish that story that way. And that's a really big part of that whole thing. Is that they didn't think they'd have a chance to do anything to hurt us, to help them because we had such a good lead. Well, we opened the door, we allowed them to come back in, and then the refs just put a couple of cherries on top at the end. But nothing too bad. And honestly, I can't blame the refs for anything, Nako. I'm going to blame because we got way more free throws than them. We did get a whole bunch of great calls for us the whole entire game. And if they gave us some shitty calls right at the end, well, we deserve them to balance things out. And the failure of execution at the free throw line is ultimately what did us in anyway. So, yeah, I can't blame the calls. And even if there were one or two bad calls at the end, it is what it is. What the fuck are you going to do? Nick wasted the challenge call on a really poor play. He called that challenge, and we won the challenge, but we didn't even get possession. It was one of those however challenges. Well, you have technically won the challenge, but however, Patrick Beverly had gotten possession of the ball enough so that they just get possession side out from Chicago. So what the fuck is the point of that challenge then? You challenge the call. Okay, you saved a foul on Fred. That's all you did with that, Nick. And then there was very much a challengeable call that we needed the challenge for a couple minutes later. So it's poor management of the challenge. And even that's part of what you have to think. You in a split second, you have to think, all right, can I win this challenge? Is it worth trying to do the challenge because of the outcome, what it could be? There's all kinds of things you got to think about in a split second while the referees and the players are trying to move the game along. It's you really take a gamble and say, oh, woo, ooh, green light, green light. Because you have to think about all that in an instant. And it could be that you're like, yeah, we can win this challenge, but you don't know how the refs are going to fucking suss out how the outcome is. They'll do this however shit. Oh, yeah, you won the challenge, but you don't get the ball. We're going to give the ball to the other team still. That's why I fucking hate the challenges. In some ways, it's like, we just figured this all out. Well, in some ways, we won the challenge. Why don't you just give us the ball? At the least, when I saw the play happen, I called jump ball. When I saw it, that's a jump ball. They should have called a jump ball. There was no foul in anything because Beverly flopped a little bit. They made it into a foul. And then that's totally the wrong path they should have went down. That play was a jump ball, referees. Fred had his hands on the ball with Patrick Beverly. They should have been jumping it. And that's even what the announcers thought too. But when I saw it, I watched enough NBA games. I said jump ball to myself. But no, Patrick Beverly did a little flop and they called a foul on Fred. And then Nick wasted a challenge on it and they still got the ball. It's so ridiculous. So ridiculous. Isaac's saying worst free throw misses since 1997. DeMar was her age back then. It's crazy. Like, seriously, this girl is Canadian, y'all. Like, you got to wonder about her psyche. Like, she's got to understand she's Canadian and she was born here in Toronto. But then, like, she's living in the States and, like, she probably has no, like, real memories of being in Canada or being Canadian. So, but it's like a weird place to her, like a place where they sent her dad away from her. Like, she was 5 when he got traded, right? So it's like, it's 5 years ago and she was 5. Then, she really, her cognizant life is outside down in San Antonio and in Chicago. So she probably got a really weird concept and think about how she thinks about Toronto. She may very much hate our city. She may very much hate our city, partly because of the pain that it caused her dad. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, look, he's tough and he's strong and he's showing that he loves us. But we've heard this recently in podcasts with Chris Boucher and other places, is your family will get upset for you and fight for you on the sides. And in some ways, his pain is something that makes her mad. And that is part of the reason why she came with that tenacity. Seriously, think about it all. When you really think and suss it all out, there's some really deep roots of pain and depression in DeMar DeRozan that were caused by the Toronto Raptors. And his daughter was working it out for him through her voice yesterday. Country Kong saying, good morning, Raptors freaks. That was a heartbreaking end to our season. I find it hard to blame DeMar DeRozan for helping her dad get a win. I've never been a fan of Herbie saying shooting too. Yeah, I don't like how long Herbie says his call for too long, and sometimes it messes things up. Yeah, shooting. Well, he does that. This is the way it should be in basketball games, though. It's just like in a golf course. Somebody's taking a putt. You want to shut up so they can take the putt. You don't want the gallery being loud while Tiger Woods is trying to make a 20-foot putt. So this is a similar thing. And when you have your home advantage, you expect your home crowd to be quiet in these situations and not have a pin drop. In fact, it is very good for him to do that shooting too. I agree with it. It's way better for our fans to do that. But that's what happens when you have one voice and they're in a very quiet, empty arena. You can very much hear it. I blame her. I do blame her for a bad free throw shooting. The guys are going to act like it didn't have anything to do with it, but it did. You can look at how bad it's a different from what we normally do with free throw shooting. She was definitely a factor. And she was right away. Like our first free throw, she did it right away, and she fucked OG up at the free throw line with the first couple free throws he took. He missed both of them right away. And I was like, wait a second, she's actually getting them to miss. Let's see. All right. As above, so below, saying, Nav, why you do us dirty, bro? Absolutely killed our season. Thanks a lot. In a lot of ways, this is true. Like, you didn't have to let her sit right in your seat, bro. This is where we're used to seeing you throw the towel against the other team, man. I'm sure he was like, he was a little bit like this the whole game, I'll bet. Because we know Nav wants the Raptors to win. I hope he does. I mean, Nav, do you care about the Raptors winning? Are you really a super fan where you really want the Raptors to win? Well, then why are you contributing to why they lost? Why, Nav? I bet you learned a tough lesson yesterday, Nav Bhatia, about how the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Because I'll bet you were in like a weird situation sitting there next to them. You're like, please, DR, please be quiet. And like, no, ha, ha, ha. And then he's like, And everybody around them is probably like, nah, why'd you bring her? Why'd you bring her here? In some ways, he's going to get some hell from people in some ways because of his gracious invitation. In some ways, being a nice guy gets you in trouble is what happens here. That's the lesson. G's saying our team and organization is soft. DeMar did her job, but someone should have asked her to stop. Shows softness from top down, in my opinion. G's, taking that Wayne Strainer hardline stance. And in some ways, I can't disagree with this at this point. In some ways, G has been one of the most important Raptor freaks on this channel in the last 2 years. He's somebody that I really, really respect. And I really, when he says stuff, there's a little bit of extra weight and respect in what G is saying. And I hate this because in some ways this is very astute and it's right. This is something we battle with at different times in our franchise, whether we're a soft team or a soft franchise, too nice. Being Canadian teams, part of it. And in the early days, our crowd was too nice. We're so polite. We couldn't get loud enough to help the team in a loud way. Well, we've come a long way in that kind of way. But in some ways, still, there's certain things like Canadian hospitality and morals, as far as like some Canadians were very mad at us for booing Goran. This is that kind of thing. It's a little bit of a battle. I know for myself, being a born Canadian but a raised American, I really do know the differences between the United States and Canada and our personalities, because I very much am a hybrid. I'm an American Canadian. And in some ways, I really do understand where the edge and the competitiveness and the kind of like, I'll fuck you over, like I'm an asshole kind of mentality of the United States compared to Canada's, we want to benefit everybody, look out for everyone, we love everyone, is much better up here in Canada. And I'd much rather be that way than the way they are down there. But in some ways, this is part of the whole picture with what G's saying, that if you're too nice in certain ways, they will cut your throat. And that is part of what it is in some ways. I think you're exactly right. I mean, I don't know how to deal with this. I don't know. Is Masai going to talk to Nav about who he brings to the games from now on? Is this going to be just an isolated incident of a very specific thing of all the things? I mean, she could have came to any of the games that the Bulls have had against the Raptors in recent years and done this in other games, but she very much chose a very important, crucial game. She knew it was do or die. She wouldn't have been able to do this in the regular season probably and get away with it. Probably people would have been like, what was that? And, so she picked her time and her spot, and it was very smart. And that's part of it also, is that she wanted to be an X factor for a very specific do or die game that was very important. So Mugarbe's here. Good to see Mugarbe Lennon, one of our newest Raptor freaks, one of my favorite new guys. Good morning, Raptor freaks. That child helped us lose the game because it was annoying and I was at home. They should have got her up out from there. This was our home game. I know. We didn't have a home advantage. She was negating part of our home advantage. And it was annoying. It was very annoying, Mugarbe. I was like, whose child is this? In the first half, I was like, whose child is this? It's his child. Damn, it's his child. It had been any other Chicago Bulls child. If it had been any other, it could have been another Chicago Bulls player. If it had been Patrick Beverley's child, I would have been like, fuck that little bitch. Get her out of there. But because it's DeMar's child, what can you fucking do? Seriously, what can we do, Raptors freaks? It's DeMar's kid. It's not Goran Dragic's kid. It's not Patrick Williams' kid. It's not Zach LaVine's kid. It's not Patrick Beverley's kid. It's DeMar's kid. You can't get mad at that. You can't get mad. You have to laugh. You have to laugh at the ridiculousness of it. Seriously, the comedy of this season is ended on a high punchline. This is a punchline at the end of a joke. This is the funniest punchline of the whole end of the joke of the season that we had. Cowboys saying at the end of the day, we can't blame a kid for losing, Raptor freaks. She was a factor. I'm going to blame Nav. I won't blame her because she's just a kid. She's doing kid stuff, but I'll blame Nav, and I'll blame the Raptors for not making the free throws. How about that? Guardian saying change is coming. They have to get us Luka. Ooh, maybe Nav loses his superfan status. No, he's ensconced. I mean, he's in the Naismith Hall of Fame as a super fan for our team. That's pretty ensconced. That's, he has a biopic coming out with Cal Penn playing him and doing his life stories in movies. He has there's a lot of things about him that are very ensconced in Raptors community and culture. I think that, listen, we know Nav's heart is in the right place. We know that he has a big heart and he's so giving. There's so many seats that he gives to underprivileged people that come and watch the game next to him that would never ever get an opportunity to come to the game. There's so many benevolent things that he does around the Raptors that we can't be mad at him in some ways. But I'll bet you this. Nav's going to think twice about who he brings to the game from now on. I'm going to bet you that. Because listen, ultimately, Nav Bhatia is a Raptors fan, and he's very competitive, and he wants the Raptors to win. He wouldn't be as successful as he is without being kind of a competitive person to a degree. So I've got to wonder if he's going to really analyze how he brings guests to the game and who they are and what they might do better in the future. That he may have learned a lesson yesterday. But I'll bet you he really feels bad. I'm serious. I'll bet you if people talk to Nat Bhatia today, he'd probably be like, I feel horrible about what happened last night in some ways. Because he did want us to win. It's not like he wanted the Bulls to win. It's not like he wanted DR to do that. In fact, they showed them, it was kind of a little bit of a comedy show because she's doing it. And Nav's kind of like, yeah, he's that kind of like, no, stop. It's crazy. It's crazy. Oh, man. Tom Duke saying, blame DeMar's wife. She was right there with DR. No way they were embarrassed. Rather, this is just different parenting skill. Win no matter what. Just kidding. It's all on the roster and Nick Nurse. Tom Duke. This is funny. In some ways she was like, I don't know. I'm not going to judge anybody on how they parent. I'm not a parent myself. So who am I to fucking say how you should raise your kid? But, listen, she had an edge too. She was definitely, what? I commend her for standing up for her child and being very much like telling everybody off around them and stuff like that. That's more important in some ways than her like doing the right thing in some ways on this, being supportive towards her child and doing what it is. But, it's just a bad thing with it all. I mean, I'm not going to get mad at either one of them to a degree. They're aren't really the reason why we lost. It really is the team. It really is Nick Nurse. And if I'm going to blame anybody on the sideline, it'll be Nav, not the DeRozan's. Cool Cat's here. Good morning, Raptor Freak crew. I'm okay with the season being over, and we can move forward with changes. Lots of locker room issues to clean up. Yes, I wish there were only a few, but we have no idea exactly how deep this is. Hopefully, maybe some of it can really be changed with just the coach first. And then hopefully it's not as bad after that with a coach that isn't as toxic right now. Yeah, I'm ready with the season being over too. In fact, some of it was relief last night. I really did feel kind of relieved. In some ways, I can go to a different schedule with this channel, and it can make me have a little bit more free time to not worry about the Raptors absolutely all the time like I do when the season's going on. So in some ways, I'm just like the players. I'm ready to have vacation. I'm ready to have some time off. Of course, I'll be doing streams every morning still, but they may be only like some of the streams may only be like 15 minutes. Some of them may be under an hour. There's definitely not going to be a lot of like 2 to 4 hours marathons during the summer. So it's just how it is. Let's see. Fiercely saying Pascal is too freaking nice. The reporter tried to trap him by asking about the noise during free throws. He pretends he didn't hear anything. Yeah, right. If he didn't hear anything, that kind of worries me too. Like, seriously, Siakam, use the excuse. Seriously, we don't want to believe that you're just a bad free throw shooter. Go ahead and blame DeMar's daughter. Although maybe he's protecting her in a way, not wanting to get her in more trouble. I don't know what it was. In some ways, Siakam wasn't upset enough about losing for the season. That's part of the thing that pisses me off too, is that you can kind of tell sometimes when people really, really wanted it and they don't get it when they're disappointed afterwards. And none of them in the press conference afterwards looked that disappointed with losing, whether it was Nick, whether it was Fred, whether it was Pascal. None of them. They didn't seem that broken up about having the season end right now. Like a lot of fans may be way more broken up than they are. Nick normally takes losses so hard that he doesn't even want to talk to anyone. That's why I know he's checked out, because he doesn't care at this point. He was way too casual in the press conference afterwards. It wasn't even like he was upset. It was very much like he was like, yeah, this is just how it is. I'm going to go take my time to think about things now and stuff like that. That's where I knew. That's the tells that he didn't give a shit about our team because he didn't have the same intensity about winning and losing that he used to. He had the rule nobody talks to him after losses. Well, he probably didn't even give a shit last night. Talk to me about the loss all you want last night. I don't care. They come in and do tape this morning. I don't even know if they do that. You gonna watch tape? You might as well just watch you fucking shoot free throws, and that's the tape you need to watch. Or maybe how you guarded Zach LaVine. That's another part of the tape you probably have to watch. Maybe watch where it all went bad in the third quarter. Also, let's see. Leslie's saying, Tom, you're right. Mommy was sitting next to her. She didn't stop her from screaming. She was encouraging her. She was very much encouraging her, Leslie. In fact, she was proud of her. In fact, she was emphasizing her with it. She was like, yeah, it was very much not frowned on and not told not to. In fact, she was supporting her and encouraging her and protecting her at the same time from the crowd around her. And telling the bench of the Bulls, shut up. You don't tell my daughter what to do. Also, because they were telling her, quiet down. They were literally Bulls coaches telling them to be quieter at one point. And the spouse of DeMar DeRozan just went like this at one point. Like, I saw it. It's crazy. Space Cadet saying the entire arena is quiet and all you can hear is her screaming for 48 minutes. It's frustrating as a viewer, and I can only imagine how frustrating it was for people sitting around her. I know it's all over the TV. It's not like the people in the arena were the only ones who heard her. In fact, some of the people in the arena may not have even heard her. It could very well be that people upstairs did not hear her screaming and didn't even realize this was happening. It's probably more people at TV and people in the lower bowl that knew it was happening. People near the court and people on the watching it on TV were very aware of her. We've had little children's voices in the background at games recently. Usually they're just cute and they're like chanting defense or cheering for the Raptors. Let's go Raptors. And we love hearing the little children in the background on the telecast. Not this one, though. Not this one. We did not love hearing this little child. Trevor's saying, good morning. I'm still in this belief that we lost this game last night, missing 18 shots at the line. We should never lose this game. I know. Well, that's the worst fucking way to lose as a professional athlete. And the most unprofessional way, to miss free throws, 18 free throws and lose by 5 points. You do the math. You make even half of those. You all won for sure. You make even maybe a third of those. You won. You won again. It's like, what the fuck, Raptors? You missed so many damn free throws, and I know that little girl had a part in it. Wayne's saying, truth be told, ain't no second championship with this crew. No toughness. They want to be liked, not respected. Teams should fear playing here. I am pissed. OG calling DeMar, go play with him. Ooh, we don't want OG going to Chicago. In some ways, last night was going to be the team that loses is going to have way more questions and dumpster fires and forces pulling them apart, telling them they need to bust them up. The Bulls were set up for that last night for most of the game, that it was going to be like, yeah, is this going to be the end of this nucleus for the Bulls? Well, it's flipped on us at this point. And in some ways, every team that loses in the play-in kind of goes through this. It's like, you just weren't good enough for one and done. So now you really got to look at yourself in the mirror and think about what you need to do to change things, to get better for next season. So there's a lot of questioning of everything and looking through everything. And our fan nation's so toxic, they're going to go overboard and come after different people in different ways and target them and think that their agenda, what they think that Masai and them should do, or even getting rid of them, they should do, is right and the right thing. And they'll be upset if these things don't happen, like Fred doesn't go away and all this kind of bullshit this summer. So let's get ready for that. Wayne, I don't like some of what you're saying here, but I do get what you're saying. I think we can still win a championship with this team that's current. It's just we got to have some fundamental leadership changes, and we need a rededication to the fundamentals and the important pillars of winning. And if we can do that, then we can right the ship. And some of these guys know how to do this. I'm worried about Scotty to a degree. As far as like, in some ways, I don't know if like we want him to have something extra more than what Siakam has, as far as like a clutch factor, closing the game and ending games and stuff like that. In some ways, he's not rising to the occasion in certain situations when he actually could. And I'm worried about that. In some ways, I really want a clutch person. I don't care if it's somebody we currently have and they develop into it, or we just bring somebody from the outside. That's why I'm okay with making a big piece move somewhere. Like, I don't want to trade OG. OG is one of the people I do not want to trade in any kind of way. I don't want to trade Fred either. But there are other people that I didn't just name. Those two names are the two that on Pirtle, those three are the three that I want to keep for next year for sure. But the other ones, even Scotty, I would be curious about what we could get possibly in certain ways. Some people may say, "What the fuck did you just say? You would trade Scotty, Lex?" Well, in some ways, I'm worried about what he's adding to our team is not helping it. In some ways, I worry that the idea of what he is and what he's coming to our team is not working. And it's in some ways we may need to trade one of the main guys because they just don't gel, they just don't fit. And some of the noise about that all season has been correct. So I'm open to the idea of anything at this point, except I don't want to really get rid of Fred, OG, or Pirtle. Those three guys in particular are guys that I think we just absolutely need because they're specific kind of guys for our team. All right, let's keep going. Rorschach saying, I would never let my kids scream like this. Looks bad on the NBA. That's what I'm saying. I think that DeMar's a little embarrassed, a little bit embarrassed. Like if they watch the game tape, he's going to hear her and he's going to be like, oh my God, I didn't realize she was so loud on the TV. Like that they could hear her on ESPN. Millions of people could hear her doing this. Like it could very well be like that today for DeMar. I don't think he's going to punish her, but I bet he's not going to allow her ever to get a chance to do that ever again. I'm going to tell you that right now. I'll bet you. Let's see. Isaac saying, embrace your deficits and make the best of it. Don't run from them like a screaming child. That's an interesting metaphor, I guess, for this situation. Embrace your deficits and make your free throws, Raptors. And don't listen to the banshee child under the net. Don't listen to her. That's supposed to be to mess you up. I think that's part of why it messes them up is because they're at home. They don't expect that kind of shit from the home crowd. And that's why it's so, wait, what the fuck was that? We're at home. Oh, crap. It's DeMar's daughter. Mugabe saying, Siakam is too fucking nice. That's the only thing I have with him. I know. I wish he was a more edgy myself. In some ways, he's a very casual dude. He's easygoing. Has a nice life. Things are easy for him in some ways. He's an athletic, like really good athlete. Like he's so good athletically. And that's really what's carried him in his NBA career. It's not necessarily his killer instinct. And that's what worries me about him, like for winning and getting to the ultimate goal, is that in some ways he can follow Kawhi's lead and be the second banana, but can he be Kawhi? I don't think he can. He's too nice. I hate it. Monique saying Fred took it upon himself. Post game, getting better. It will hurt for a while. Getting back in the gym and so much more. Go listen to it. Fred did say this. He's not ready to move on from the season. He says that to really learn the lessons of what happened this year, he has to like sit in it, marinate in it for a little while, and really like soak it all in. The disappointment, the dysfunction, the badness of this season, and really ponder it and like think back on it, like reflect back on the whole entire season and all the different ups and downs and everything that went wrong with it. Maybe things that he's reflecting about, like what happened in the locker room behind the scenes with the hierarchy of things that I was just talking about. And maybe he's got to reflect on specifically the way they lost last night, all kinds of different things. The way he had a bad shot earlier in the season, the way the whole season went. It's like doing a season in review and really kind of reliving it. And in some ways, you need to soak in the disappointment, the sadness, and the anger about it, because that's the only way that you can change outcomes in the future. Is you got to remember the disappointment of failure to avoid the failure in the future. And that he should not be the only one of the Raptors doing this. If some of the Raptors have absolutely moved on and they're like, I don't give a fuck, I'm done. It's like they're out of school as a young kid. And they're like, school's out for the summer. And they're running out and they're like throwing shaving cream all over each other in the park and celebrating. If there's any fucking Raptors acting like that today, fuck you. Seriously, I'm going to say that. I don't often say fuck you to Raptors. But I'll say fuck you if you're not stewing in it. Just at least a little bit, like Fred is. Like, Scotty, you got to stew in it for a little bit. Siakam, you got to stew in it. Don't go right to the island, to your paradise. You need to stew in this and really take to it and understand the implications and feel it so that it can help you later to avoid it happening again. And if you move right on and go right into your offseason like, oh, we're just done, that you're not going to get any of that, what I just said. And it's important. It's very important. And Fred understands that. I'm glad he said that. Blackhawk saying it's on the coach for me. The rotations were terrible. Oh, yeah. In the second half, Gary Trent was ineffective. Nick Nurse should have kept with Precious to lock down Levine, and Fred was not the right person to put on Levine. Totally sure. Exactly. Exactly. Sure. That was like one of the biggest fuck ups. Fred being on Levine when he was cooking and getting going. Why was that kept happening? Why was that switch to him getting on him all the time? Why didn't you cover that up, Nick? Why didn't you stop fucking lazy coaching and fucking be more active as a coach and making decisions quickly and getting adjustments happening as you see them happen on the fly? I saw you casually sitting back. That's what I'm saying. All you casual motherfuckers on the Raptors, you're on notice with me right now because y'all played casual this year. You had a casual outcome. And the most casual one I see is Nick Nurse because he didn't give a shit. He sat on the bench while we got our lead taken away from us. All right, let's see. Lux is saying, why is one little girl's voice overpowering 20,000 people? I don't want to hear any excuses from them about injury or whatever. They were sold, point blank, period. Yeah, I can't disagree with you, Lux. But you understand why you could hear her is because everybody else is being quiet on purpose. That they want everybody to be quiet for the free throws. And that's normal in every single arena in the NBA. That, the announcer says, shh, and like they want people to be quieter for them to shoot the free throws in peace. Well, you have one errant like fan from the other nation in your home building. They can be very loud and very stand out and everybody else is so quiet. It's not like she was fighting against their noise. Nobody else was making noise at that point. So Wayne's saying, I expected to hear Nick Nurse resign. Fred was the only one with any emotions about the loss. Nick has got to go. Pascal is no leader and has to realize he's second tier. I want to see a classy firing of Nick Nurse. Fuck. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how they're going to handle this or when it's going to happen. It could happen on the stream while I'm talking to y'all, and I don't even know yet. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Once again, we just have to blindly trust Masai. He is in charge. He is steering our ship, and I do trust him. And I do like his track record. And I do know he gets results. It's just that you don't know when it's going to come back around, when that next Larry O.B. is going to come. But I know that Masai's working on us getting there again. It's just every path to get to it is different. And this path may be a little bit different than the one to the first one. But we will get the second one. Trust me. Just wait. It's gonna come. It's just we gotta go through the fire and some of the confusion to get to it. Nameless is saying he should be goddamn embarrassed. I know I would be if my kid behaved like a German Shepherd on national television. No, I'm pretty sure he is. And we know DeMar's character. He's not into cheap ways to win. He very much goes the hard way and works hard. So this isn't like his character. I very much know this was not premeditated and that he put his daughter up to this. In fact, she did it without him knowing, I'm pretty sure. And that in some ways he's like, Cowboys saying Lex and Raptor Freaks got to go, but everyone have a great day. Enjoy the sunshine, draft picks. Bam, 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 bam. Thank you, Bradley. Be safe out there. Ta-da. If you have any needs done around your house, painting, cleaning, carpet cleaning, moving big objects, cleaning your gutters, these guys will come to your house. They're in the phone book in the 416. Ta-da. You can look them up. Bradley will come and help you. Michael Furlano's here again. Good to see Michael again. Lottery pick. Here we come. Well, let's see. All right. This is what we can do next, Raptor Freaks. Let's all get together and just get our minds sending good mental energy towards the ping pong balls for the lottery. And let's see if the Raptors can get a little bit of luck and when our ping pong ball comes out. And maybe we move up in the top 10 of the lottery for draft picks. In some ways, maybe this is somewhat calculated by Masai. There's been rumors that in some ways, Masai knows exactly where the sweet spot is in the draft. And that in some ways, us, even though we were mid and in the middle and lost in the play-in, that we're still in a very sweet area to get somebody that he's looking at, him and Bobby, as a prospect for this year in the draft. So we'll see if we get some luck on our ping pong balls and we actually move up to a top 10 spot from where we actually should be picking with the odds that we normally have. We have better luck than normal, and we usually pick higher. I don't know why that machine likes us, but it usually spits us out earlier than we should be spit out, and that's good. Leslie's saying the starters look gassed. We didn't use our bench, and we took our home court advantage for granted. Yeah, we squandered a lot of good things about our team. We disregarded our bench for too long this season. You did not build any role players or a bench for our team this year, Nick Nurse. You failed in developing a bench for us, and it showed in the last game of the season. where we only got 8 points from the bench last night in a do or die game at home. It's a fail. It's a huge fail. And the more I, exhibit and display the failings of Nick Nurse from this season, the more I realize he is really at the crux of all of our issues right now. He really, really is at the heart of every single failing about the Toronto Raptors this season. It has to do with Nick Nurse. It really, really does. G saying, as annoying as she was, she has spirit and didn't give a fuck. No shame. Something some of our organization could use. Yes. And yes, G, you're exactly right. Bench only scored 8 points. For perspective, Hawks bench scored 53 and the Bulls bench 23. Not blaming the players. Roster makeup and rotations have been an issue. Yeah, I don't even blame our roster makeup either. I think that Nick Nurse is just a fucking failure at using a complete team. He's so good with his premium starters, his favorites, but he's so horrible at using a bench, at getting any kind of developing out of bench players. Because listen, we could blame Masai and Bobby for this, but why? We can't, because every single year they go and they bring him new players, and he's supposed to do this himself. Ever since the championship, our bench has been shitty and gotten shittier and shittier in the years since. And it has nothing to do with what Masai and Bobby are doing. It has to do with Nick Nurse's stranglehold on minutes, only for certain players on this team. And in fact, in some ways, that is a really on the sly, stealth way to submarine the team, is by doing this. And that's why I'm pissed at him, is because when you overcompensate by playing the starters so much, you hurt this team so much. Not only that, you run our main guys ragged and risk them for injury, just like David Thorpe said earlier this season. And then also, they're too tired to close the game effectively at the end. Why is this a sound strategy to play your starters 37 to 45 minutes a game? Why is this a sound strategy, Nick? Do you get good results from this all season? No, you didn't. You got the same damn result. Tired players who couldn't make shots in the last 3 minutes of the game. So that's what I'm saying. It's on Nick Nurse. He's fucked this season up completely. And he did a horrible job developing Koloko, horrible job developing Delano. He did a horrible job of using Malachi correctly. He did a horrible job of gratiating Will Barton to our team as far as getting him going with us. There's so many things he failed on this season. So many things. Oh my gosh. Let's see. Blackhawk is saying Raptors fans let a little girl out scream them. Well, they're all quiet at the same time. You guys got to understand. It's not that she's louder than everyone. It's just everybody's being quiet at that particular moment. Learn from her and do the same when the Bulls had free throws. We did. In fact, we were louder than her when they shot free throws. We had all the craziness. It's the contrast. In some ways, our quietness with her laying her palette of sound over the quietness is really, she gets to decide the timing of the jerkiness of trying to fuck up the free throws. And that's why it's so effective, because it's her timing of when she does it. It could be really in the motion, and OG's like, whoa, whoa, OG could be shook like that. We know he's a weird guy. It could be like, whoa, is somebody hurt? It could be OG was like really wanting to be careful for somebody who was hurt in the crowd. Like, oh no, a little girl is screaming. I missed my free throw. It could have been as simple as that OG's such a kind and nice person. He was worried about somebody being hurt in the crowd. I don't know. That's part of what I was thinking. I mean, in some ways, you hear a blood-curdling child scream and you worry about it. It could be that it's like part of like your history of your ancestry. You hear people screaming, it jars you. It makes you feel a little like unease at a moment, and maybe it makes you uncomfortable and you miss a free throw. So, yeah, I mean, we could do the same thing to them, and we did with shakers and yelling, and we had 500 little girls screaming at the same time. But that noise is white noise. And it all comes at once, and it's easier to deal with in some ways than a single solitary, very jarring timed noise. And that's what that was for her. Summer Lowe saying, I'm so disappointed in this team this year. This is probably the worst ending to a season in Raptors history. No, it is not. Ridiculous with the girls screaming. There was nothing anyone could do about that. We've had worse endings to seasons. We won 18 games in a season. That is a worse ending to a season than what we did this year. Like I said, there's like sweeps that we've had in the playoffs have been much more disappointing to me. The bubble, the way we lost to Boston, that was disappointing. And last year, I even feel like was more disappointing than this year. because we had a better shake. We had a fair shake against Philadelphia, but we fucking shat the bed in the last game. Similar kind of to what we did last night, but we had more of a hope because we played so good in game 5 in Philadelphia and killed them in the first round last year. Then when we came back to Toronto and played game 6 in front of our home crowd and our players came out with a really poor effort and we lost, that was way more disappointing to me than this last night. Like I said, this is very much comedy. This is such a weird story that in some ways the novelty of it takes away a lot of the pain. It's true. If you really think about it that way. Greg's here. Good to see Greg. Hope you're doing well, Greg. Jubstown Clink. Check out his YouTube channel. Great Raptors content on there. I'm sure a lot of you already know the Gubstown Clink. Such a good guy. Morning, folks. Hugs to all. Year 2 of rebuild complete. Onwards and upwards. Oak and DR being there was classy regardless of outcome. Best of luck to DeMar and Kalo in their game. Young Thunder, big win. Yeah, that was a big win by the Thunder beating the Pelicans. In some ways, the Pelicans are just as disappointing as we are. They're our Western Conference counterpart, and they could have done so much more. And in fact, there's all these questions about Zion. Zion said he could play, but he can't play mentally. So he's doing a little bit of that Ben Simmons kind of talk right now. And Pelicans players are very much supporting him and have no problem with it. Larry Nance Jr. very publicly saying we support Zion and we have no problem with what he's going through and him not being available. You know, in some ways, it is kind of like a Ben Simmons situation where this dude seems like he could play, but he's not ready to mentally yet. And in some ways, if I was in Pelicans Nation, that would be a big, huge problem and issue for me. Some of them are very upset that they did not use Jonas Valanciunas in the third quarter last night. That Jonas was rolling and kicking ass for the Pelicans, but then they went away from him in a very key stretch in the third quarter when Oklahoma City took over. And that a lot of Pelicans fans are upset that Jonas didn't get more shots in the third. Good job for SGA and those young Thunder. We'll see how you guys do against, well, they got to win on Friday still. And then maybe they'll get Denver Nuggets. They got to still play the Minnesota Timberwolves tomorrow. Tomorrow. All right, but good to see you, Greg. Yeah, it was nice to see Oakley there. I'm not going to say it was nice to see DR, though. It wasn't nice to see her. Let's just put it that way. Greg, good to see you, and I hope you have a good summer, and hopefully we'll be talking more. Wayne's saying Kyle's contract is over this season. We need him back for proper mentoring of this young team. DeMar did what he had to do. This organization better wake up. We're going to be known as jokes in the league. You know, that's what we were before, and we got respect because of Kyle and DeMar, and that's what I'm worried about, is I don't want this respect to go out the window. We just finally got it ensconced for like 10 years of playoffs and winning and doing all kinds of great things in the history of since 2010. Do we want all that to go out the window? The legacy of Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan for our team and everything they built very hard in our culture. In some ways, DeMar is a part in destroying it, what he built a little bit last night. And I want Fred and Pascal and OG, these guys to take this seriously. That what does it mean to be a Raptor? What does it mean to be in our culture? And how can you instill this in every single guy on our roster? If there's people on this roster that are not bought in and not willing to be a part of Raptors culture in the proper way, well, they need to see the door. That's what I'm saying. We can't have anybody that's not bought in and believing in Raptors winning culture, do or die, do everything it's possible to win kind of shit like Kyle and DeMar did. And I know Fred has that mentality himself currently on this team. I like the idea of possibly bringing Kyle back on a smaller contract and playing with us again, because it would really kind of help us in this department. Even if he doesn't play a whole lot, although I'd be worried about Nick overplaying Kyle in his older age and not like using him the correct way. That's why we need to get rid of Nick Nurse for sure. But if Kyle Lowry came back and he was like an on-team coach and just helped bring some of this mentality back at a lowered price and off the bench, I wouldn't be upset. I think that would be a great idea, and it would really help with the problems we've had this season. He is exactly who could clean up a lot of the bullshit behind the scenes. Trust me. G saying, I want a Ben Mathurin, Dylan Brooks personality. Yes, a shot creator in the draft, if possible and available. You know, in some ways we're kind of fucked. We kind of ordained Scotty to be our golden boy, and in some ways he needs to be this guy. One of the problems the Raptors have is we have so many different guys that are kind of the same like level of talent that it's kind of like, who's going to catch the ball? Who's going to go do it? Who's going to take the leadership? Who's going to be in the hierarchy at the top? And if we bring in a young guy like Ben Mathurin, who can take over the game and kind of do things, it may ruffle feathers and make it even worse on our team, because now there's another person on our team that's trying to take the pie, and there'll be more people in the fan nation that are arguing this person versus this person closing the game, who should be the number one, and all this kind of stuff. But it is very apparent that a youngster like a Ben Mathurin gets drafted, and all of a sudden in his first year, he's taking over and winning games for us. Would we balance this correctly? I don't think we would with Nick. So we'd have to get a different coach for sure. And how would that ruffle feathers in the existing leadership structure of the Raptors? Would they be able to eat crow and allow this young rookie to come in and be the man and carry us home and possibly become the number one star right away? Would they be able to do that? Would Scottie be able to do that as a secondary player, setting him up? I think he would be able to. But what is the problem with this? Why can't we get a signature number one figurehead guy who can just do this for us, like a Ben Mathurin? Seriously, we need that. Lux is saying, Fred said we were winning the championship, telling media you don't want to see us in the playoffs, blah, blah, just to get bounced in the play-in. He should feel embarrassed. All right, you're getting a strike, Lux. There's no reason to come after Fred like that. So you're getting a strike. Tread lightly. Don't come after Fred right now. Fuck you if you're coming after Fred. Because I'm going to protect Fred, because there's way more people coming after Fred, and it's unnecessary right now. This season and what happened this season has nothing to do with Fred being at fault for it. So I don't want to hear this. And yeah, of course he wanted to win a championship. He didn't say we were going to win the championship. He never fucking said that. He said you don't want to see us in the playoffs, and that may be true. Well, maybe the NBA didn't want to see us in the playoffs either. Anyway, you're getting a strike, and don't talk about Fred right now. There's no reason to come after Fred right now. He didn't do anything wrong. DJ saying, in a decade, when that little girl is in the WNBA, they will be playing footage from that game saying she was shaping games even back then. Can't believe camera scanned two girls as Chicago was clawing back. You know what? You're getting a dunk, DJ, because I love that. I love the whole idea of you thinking ahead and thinking, I don't know if she plays basketball. We don't even know if she'll be able to be in the WNBA. But if she does, that definitely is true, what you said, that she will get that footage played and she'll be like, this is crazy. When has ever a 10-year-old girl had the impact on an NBA game like this ever in the history of the sport? I don't think this has ever happened. I don't think this ever happened where a player's 10-year-old daughter actually was a huge factor in why the game went the way it did. I don't think it has ever happened. Wayne is saying, damn sure it won't happen again. Only here that would be allowed. NBA Chev nailed it. Pat Riley would have shut that shit down promptly. Only here, no one would say anything, say nothing when losing. Well, let's get a little bit of this. All right, first of all, it's easy to say Pat Riley would have done something and other fan nations would have done something and we're too nice, but that's not true. I don't think that's exactly what happened here. Yeah, Nav was too nice and letting her sit in his seat. But I think that she caught them all by surprise. I don't think anybody, I bet you maybe even DeMar's partner didn't even know that she was going to do that. It may be that she did tell them, but maybe not. And that they caught him off guard. And in some ways, maybe they did think about doing something about it, but they were like, kind of like, the optics of this don't look good. Even if this happened in another arena, all right, let's see what would be apropos for this. All right, what if Precious had a child and we were playing Miami on Friday and they were sitting on the hoop and they did this and Precious, who was a draft pick by them and did play for Miami for a little bit, did this. You think the Miami people would come and throw Precious's child out of the game? No, they wouldn't. They may warn her and they may tell her to be quiet, but I'll bet you they wouldn't actually ever throw her out, because in some ways it's bad PR. It looks bad. What are we going to say? Security throws out 10-year-old girl at a game? That doesn't look good PR-wise, especially if it's a player's daughter. So in some ways, their hands are tied. You could say, yeah, other arenas, they would do this, but I bet you they wouldn't. You'd be actually shocked. A lot of other arenas probably would have handled this exactly the same way as us. So I don't think you could say that Miami would have done that for sure. It could be that maybe DeMar knows that, and that's why she's not allowed to come and do it again on Friday night. She probably wants to, and I'll bet you Bulls fans are all about it. They're all about, like, you better send your daughter to the game in Miami. And he's already said, no, she's not allowed to come to that game. She may not be allowed to sit at courtside for a while until she shows maturity a little bit. We'll have to see.
Let's see. Evelyn's here. Good to see Granny Evelyn. Always happy to see Granny Evelyn. It's so weird. When I met Duke Rocks the other day, Granny Evelyn, she was wearing the championship hoodie that you've been giving everybody. And I was like, did Evelyn give you your hoodie, Jason? And he was like, no, I just had this myself. I bought it at Canadian Tire. And I was like, oh, that's the same hoodie that Evelyn's been giving to everybody in our Raptor Freak family. So you have the hoodie already, Duke Rocks. And that was awesome. It's so funny. Evelyn's saying, guys, here's my big hugs to all. There's always going to be next time. Thank you, Evelyn. Let me give you a hug. This is a hug for Granny Evelyn and baby Candace. What a great granny in our Raptor Freak family. We love you, Granny Evelyn. You're the best. Trevor's saying, if she wasn't every other arena, I'm not sure exactly what you mean, Trevor. Tom's saying the DR lost. So many creative and new ways of losing. Enough. I'm excited about the new team. We will be in a few short months. This NBA season was weird all around. Playoffs will be wild. Yeah, this was a weird season for us specifically. Really weird season. I feel like we've had a mole this whole season. Like that whole TV show, reality show was called The Mole. And like you're on teams, and one person on your team is actually actively working against your team, getting their objectives successful, but you don't know who it is. And you got to suss out who the mole is by the end of the episode, of the end of the season. And it was Dennis Rodman in one season of The Mole. Celebrity Mole, it was Dennis Rodman was the mole, and Anderson Cooper, and then we're trying to figure out who it was. But that's what I'm saying. We have a mole on our team that is actively disrupting our team from the inside and fucking it up. And I know there's one specific person, I'm pretty sure it's our coach, and that he has been a mole this whole entire season, fucking us up with really poor decisions. You know, in some ways, let's think about AJ Griffin's shot again. And if we were Atlanta, it's that simple. We have the same record as Atlanta. If we had beaten Atlanta 2-1 in the season series, we would have gotten the Miami game, and we might have been sitting in the spot with Atlanta, where Atlanta is against the Boston Celtics in the first round right now. That it is easy to say that loss with AJ Griffin really did kind of cause our whole season to go to this point. That if we won the season series with Atlanta, we would have had the 8th seed. We would have played Miami on Tuesday instead of Atlanta, and we probably would have beaten Miami just like they did. And it would have been a whole different thing. So in some ways, the way that our future and our path was ordained in that fucking game with AJ Griffin, in that situation there. So that's why this shit all matters. Raptors, you're too casual. Free throws matter. Winning season series matter. Fucking winning matchups against your counterpart on the other side matter. All this shit matters, and you need to act like it matters to you, and you care about it, and you can do it, because you don't show that you care about it or can do it right now. And I'm sick of that shit. I want to see y'all be able to be more functional and competent. You guys are not competent as a team right now. Pachuli's saying nothing more irritating than adults condoning this child's behavior. Seriously, you're giving this child props? Nothing is right about this. Stop praising the child. We lost. End of story. Well, it's because I'm a Raptors fan from a long time. And I really do respect DeMar DeRozan. And I have to respect his family by extension. And in some ways, that is why she gets a pass with me. If it was Patrick Beverley's daughter, I'd be coming after her like crazy. If it was Alex Caruso's daughter, I would be all over it. But no, this is DeMar. He's family. He's a legend. He's an important part of our history. In some ways, she gets immunity. And that's just how it is with this. And plus, it's a 10-year-old child. There's already going to be all kinds of crazy fucking angry mobs stirring up in Raptors Nation. And I don't want to be part of that. This is still a child. We got to keep this in perspective overall. This is still a 10-year-old little girl. And that anybody who's like, you don't want to talk too much crazy shit about her because it's a kid. Come on. Fiercely saying, for once, we had the refs on our side. They called every foul in our favor, and we messed it up. I know. James Williams was awesome. Mitchell Irvin was our friend. He totally was our friend. And even Kevin Scott gave us a couple bones here and there. But yeah, it's true, Fiercely. I know we got it held to us on a platter. It really was given us to on a platter. That's why Nick Nurse failed so fucking horribly last night. He had everything handed to him on a platter. He let his guard down in a crucial game, and we lost. And it pisses me off. It pissed me off. Raymond Jacobs saying, I hope we fire Nick Nurse and somehow can get back Sergio Scarleone somehow. That would be fun. I don't know if he'd be our head coach, but I don't know.
I don't know. I don't want to kind of backtrack and go back to the past. In some ways, I want to go ahead into the future. And I'm hoping Earl Watson's our guy. He'd be my favorite choice. I don't want Adrian Griffin. In some ways, he's too much similar to Nick. In some ways, they're very like kind of a pair as coaches. And I think that he might go with Nick, or he's getting interviewed for Houston. It could be that he goes down and he's coaching like Houston, or you know what, may be a really good fit for Adrian Griffin, Detroit. We may see Adrian Griffin taking over for Casey in Detroit, and we may see Nick down in Houston, and then we see Earl coaching our team. That's what I'd like to happen. I'd much rather have somebody who's already familiar with the landscape of the Raptors culture and what's going on right now and where it has problems than bringing an outsider like Ime Udoka, who has no idea what's going on with our team. And that we have no idea if he's going to get along with the players. There may be personality clashes between him and some of the current players. Well, we know Earl, who's already on our staff, gets along with people and is very much accepted as part of our Raptors family. And in some ways, that is part of the reason why Nick Nurse got his job, is because he was already kind of in. And in a way, Masai already signals that his next coach is coming up in the ranks on our own staff. That in some ways, he's not about hiring a new person from outside, because there's a lot of unknowns that can go wrong with that. In some ways, if Earl's already in the family and, he has good relationships with all the players and they suss that out, he would be perfect to be our coach next season. And I think that may very well be what happens. If I go by all the history of Masai and things with how he dealt with Casey and Nurse and that transition, I'm going to guess that Earl Watson may be our next coach. Just because Adrian Griffin's probably going to go and coach another team. Nick will go coach another team because we fired him. And Earl is the best candidate in-house after that. So that's my choice. And I hope they do that. I really do. Let's keep going. Wayne's saying another question is, have the players individually quit on Nick Nurse? The loss was just so casual. I saw no pride. Nick Nurse has presided over a meticulous negation of this team from start of the season to now. Yeah, I wonder about this. Like, seriously, he just doesn't have the care. Like, before, he would really get so mad after a regular season loss that it would tear him up and nobody could talk to him. He hasn't been that way at the end of the season. He's not as upset about us losing. You can really tell. You can read between the lines. And in some ways, the giving up by him, why wouldn't the players give up also? Why none of them care? None of them care. So we got to get people to care again. Masai needs to have interviews and talk to these guys in his office and get across very seriously, we're about Larry O'Brien's and winning once again, and get them back on page. And if they're seeming like they're too casual, they're too aloof about it, either light a fire in their ash, send them packing, or punish them and make them have to work to get back towards what they have already. I think some of the guys just have what Nick gives them. They know they're just going to get it, and they've been cruising on that. They just know it's granted. They're taking it for granted. And in some ways, you need to keep your players hungry all the way up to the top number one star, the franchise player, and keep them motivated and going after goals and doing things correctly, because they'll lag and they won't play as hard if you don't keep on them about this. And I feel like because of the way he dotes on the starters, that in some ways this has happened, that they take things for granted when they should have to actually earn their time and their place in the rotation all the time, constantly. That in some ways, oh, sure, give them some security to know they're going to have a good chance. But I think they're taking things for granted, Nick, and that you have too much of a have and have not system with your coaching style and your rotations, that the haves are really kind of greedy and they're not taking things seriously. And the have nots are choked out and starving and not getting anything in develop wise. So that's what I'm saying right there. They're too casual. Cool Cat saying, Lex, Nick Nurse is tired and fed up. The locker room issues with young players took a toll on him. You will hear the stories come out about our boy Scotty for the locker room division. Different generations. Man, I really hope it isn't him, Cool Cat, but all signs point to him in some sort of way. As him being kind of just like a usurper, or just a person that's not going with everybody. It may be that he has this philosophy. He's a team player on the court. He's very passing oriented. He's a very good teammate. But there may be things about his personality behind the scenes. And some of the things I saw on Twitch last summer
that rub people the wrong way, that maybe he's not the right kind of pro. It is a generational kind of thing that, youngsters are not the same kind of mentality as somebody like Fred. Fred's very much an old soul and an old head. He always was since he was a little kid. And so he's never been immature. And in some ways, Scotty is a big immature kid. Some ways, some people have said he's like a middle school kid in some ways. And Fred very much was never a middle school kid. And that's part of what they have to come to grips on, is that Fred's always been an adult and he never actually had the time to ever have fun and be a kid. And Scotty's going to be able to be a kid late into his 20s, that he's still a kid right now. And that may be part of why they don't gel totally, is because Fred has always been old and Scotty's just going to be perennially young. I don't know. DJ saying 14 games lost by 4 or less. That girl got skills. DJ. I mean, that's way too many games this season that were close that we lost. You look at that. That's a lot of games. We could easily improved our record for the season. We gotten in some of those 14 games. Oh my gosh. That's how many? Holy crap. All right. Lux is saying we had home cooking on our side. Outscored them by 27 from the 3 at a point, but still lost, getting killed by 2s. Laugh out loud. We are bad, but that's the difference between playoff teams and us, the consistency. Well, we're not a playoff team, so that's fair. And the consistency is absolutely one of our biggest problems. I can't disagree with anything Lux is saying here. No problem with what you said here. Fiercely saying, I swear if it was LeBron or Devin Booker, something would have been done. That may be true, although I don't know. That's the weird thing. I don't know. Maybe Fred should have said something. I think he did say something to the refs or something. I swear I saw him kind of point or say something at one point. And the James Williams and them were like, whatever, it's just a little girl. What do you want us to do? It's just a little girl. You want us to throw a little girl out? And not only that, an all-stars little girl. This is an NBA all-star. This is a former Toronto Raptors child, not just any old little girl. I don't know. Maybe that is true. Maybe Devin Booker or LeBron James could have gotten DeR DeRozan thrown out yesterday. I don't know. I have no idea. Maybe Celtics security would have thrown her ass out. No questions asked. I don't know what the difference would have been in this. The settings could have been slightly different. It could have been different. Maybe the other teams don't have super fans that allow the opposition's young child come and destroy our free throw shooting like this. That they wouldn't even get a chance to sit there. It's the benevolence and kindness of Nav Bhatia putting her in that very particular spot that causes this. Let's see. Mike Byers is here. Good to see another new name. 9:30 a.m. every morning. We're talking Raptors here. Every comment gets read, and I hope you come back some more. She was amazing last night, but was the best fan in the building. She really was. And how can you deny the love of a daughter for her father? And that passion, that's part of what fed her timing and her tenacity, is the love for her dad. And like I said, there's tough to this. The kid can understand the story and what happened with her dad in Toronto Raptors and very much feel justified in what she was doing. Trust me. She didn't feel like she was doing anything wrong. In fact, she probably felt like she was on the side of good in this whole situation, because she's doing what was right, because these people did her dad wrong. And I can't disagree with that in some ways. G saying Draymond Green, Marcus Smart, Dylan Brooks would not have let that fly. Well, what the fuck would they have done? Seriously, what are they going to do? Go cuss them out? What are they going to do? Are they going to go and tell security to throw them out? I have no idea how they could have handled this situation. Seriously. In some ways, she didn't break any rules. I don't know what rules she broke. I mean, really, we could trump up some crazy thing and say, oh, she broke this rule as interfering with the game consistently during the whole game. I don't know. You think the NBA is going to review this and investigate this situation? And there's going to be some sort of like thing where she's not allowed to sit courtside ever again? I don't know. We have to see what the fallout of all this is, as far as like how things go with this. Are they going to do anything about this, the NBA? Probably not. It's against us, so they don't probably care. So I don't think anything's going to happen to this. We may hear more about it though. We'll see. Monique's saying they were up 18. That's what everyone's talking about. Yeah, we had the game. We were winning. And at that point I was saying, all right, I don't mind the missed free throws as long as we win this game still. Well, we had such a great lead. I felt like that's what was going to happen, that we could cruise to the victory, win by the skin of our teeth, and none of those missed free throws that were happening because of young Mr. Rosen were going to matter at the end. Just keep the lead nice and big, and we'll win regardless. And we'll laugh about the footnote that she tried to influence the game for them to win. Because I really thought we could win in spite of this. I was like saying to myself, all right, we sometimes have to win 5-on-8 versus the refs. Well, tonight we've got to win against the Bulls and DeMar's daughter. And I was like, we can do this. We can do this. But we couldn't. I was like, if we can just win and it won't matter, it'll be a funny footnote to things. But we didn't win. And it did contribute to why we lost. Oh my gosh. Rorschach saying, Nav, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Come on down to Nav's Hyundai for a screaming good deal. All right, Rorschach, you're getting another dunk. You're getting a dunk for that. That's funny. I like that. It's a Hyundai dealership. I know Hyundai or whatever. I don't even know how to say that name. Hyundai. Yeah, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. This is the lesson for last night. I'm sure it was hellish for Nav. I don't know how much backlash he may be getting from the fans today. Like, how many toxic Raptors people are coming after Nav and telling him, why the fuck did you bring her to the game? All this stuff, things like that. Basketball Rewind saying, now will you finally let me talk about prospects? You can always talk about prospects. It's just, I don't like talking about prospects. I don't give a shit about all the draft prospects. I don't give a shit about who we might trade for. I'm very much reacting to what has already happened. We could talk blue in the face about every single person in the draft, but I don't care about it as much. In some ways, this isn't the right channel for that. It's really like, I don't scout for the draft. I don't go look at college players. I don't know who any of these players are. You guys usually bring them to my radar, and I'll go check them out after you bring them up. But yeah, you could always talk about this Basketball Rewind. I have no problem talking about that, Van Hoot. There's no problem with that. Talk about it if you want. It's just I may not have much to say about it, and you may be teaching me more than I'm going to teach you, because I don't know anything about it. I'm not going to do the research on this stuff. I do so much for this channel already. I can't go cover all the draft prospects and tell you about them. But you guys can tell me ones that you like, and then I'll go look at them afterwards. That's kind of how it worked last year. Is people would bring me names, and Koloko was one of them, and we would go suss them out and kind of think about their fit with us. And then we kind of prospect who we think might be drafted by us. And then around the draft, I'll have like 5 top picks that I've kind of figured out the best picks for who they might want to pick. And Koloko was one of my top 5 picks for last year to be drafted by us. And so it kind of works that way. But we'll get more into this. Obviously, there's still playoffs to be played, and there won't be as much draft stuff until that's all done. But it's all wide open now. And yeah, I don't mind talking about it. We can talk about it. Seymour saying, man's kid was super annoying. Yeah, she was. She was definitely Seymour. Trevor saying, I know people might disagree with me, but if his daughter was in any other arena, they would get put out. Yeah, I don't even know. If that's true. We can't say that for sure. In some ways, it doesn't look good. You don't want to piss DeMar off for something weird. Like, you don't want him to have something bad happen to his daughter, and it's sad or something messed up. I don't know. This is such a weird situation. To handle this lightly and respectfully is tough. You got to really walk a couple lines of dealing with this, because this is a minor. This isn't an adult. And in some ways, you have to have that factor in. And you could say, I don't know. I don't know how it would go down in LA. I don't know how it would go down in Boston. I don't know how it would go down in Miami if she tried to do it tomorrow night. Seymour saying, where's Child's protective services when you need them? Jokes. Seymour, that's funny. That's funny in some ways. But yeah, the mom's right there. Everything's fine. Seymour saying, Gary Trent Jr. should just play in Tim's construction workers, nothing but bricks. Woo! That's fair. That's fair. In some ways, you know what? Listen, I'm dumping on Nick Nurse. I might dump on Gary a little bit before he leaves our team. In some ways, I mean, I know he's a streak shooter. In some ways, he's been so good for us. But the promise of what he could be for us, in some ways, was not fully come through for us. We were sold on some sort of promise of what Gary Trent Jr. could be when he came here. And in some ways, he just hasn't delivered when we needed him to the most. And that's the thing that pisses me off the most about him. Last night, we needed him to deliver, and he did not. He did not. DJ saying Toronto still needs a tough guy, somebody to throw weight around, a bad boy shit disturber, someone un-Canadian like. Yeah, let's get a Canadian back, Dylan Brooks. He'd be perfect for this. Exactly this kind of thing. Hopefully, he'll do this kind of stuff to the Lakers in the first round for the Grizzlies. Lux is laughing. Callie's saying, I have mixed feelings. Disappointed our season is over, but our team needs a shakeup. Not tough enough. I love kids, but sorry, DeRozan's girl was extremely annoying. Can't believe it was allowed. Yeah, I'm wondering if there will be ramifications from this. Will there be reverberations coming out from this? Maybe the NBA makes some new rules about things that you do at courtside. Maybe they don't care because it was Toronto. Trevor's saying this never happened in any game, only to us because we are soft. If this was any arena in the U.S., she would have been put out. I don't know for sure if this has never happened in another arena for sure. It could very well be that it did happen in different arenas before and we just don't know about it. I don't know. I don't know enough about this ever happening because I don't remember this ever happening before. So in some ways, I don't know. We can say what it could have, should have, but it could very well be. You guys might be surprised that every other arena would handle it the same exact way that we did. I don't know. There needs to be some sort of authority on the rules, and maybe not the officials' rules, maybe the referees' rules, but more the rules of the establishment and the security and the ushers. What are the rules for the ushers? I need to get Toozy. That's what I need to do. Monique, I need to talk to Toozy, my good friend that ushers at the Scotiabank Arena, and he could probably tell me more about this whole situation and what they could or could not do because he's an usher there and he's trained and he knows all their protocols. So maybe I'll have a little discussion with Toozy and see what he thinks about that situation and what could have been done in that situation. I'll come back to you guys from what he says. All right. Let's see. Shir Khan saying, good morning, Raptor Freak family. Busy at work. Shir Khan still finding the time to come in and say hi. And I saw you on the last episode of Raptors Tonight last night, getting your question read as usual. Randy Urban recognizing Shir Khan as a very top fan for the Raptors Tonight, since his questions always get read on there. You go, Shir Khan. You are one of the bright spots this season. Thank you, Rookie of the Year, Shir Khan. He's busy at work. Just want to pop in and say hi. The game last night was emblematic. I love that word. Of the whole season. Can't blame the girl. Players are grown men. Have to tune it out. Not a valid excuse. I think I can get behind this. I mean, that's exactly right. She is a part of it. She's a catalyst for it. She is definitely a factor in it. But ultimately, it's on the guys to make those free throws. You're big boys. You're supposed to do this. You get millions of dollars to make these free throws. So make the free throws, Raptors. It's that simple. Yeah, we could say, oh, it's DeMar's daughter is causing us trouble. But ultimately, y'all need to make those free throws no matter what. It's maybe just a really weird, jarring, kind of weird situation. Sue's saying, hey, Lex, I know that DeMar said he will never be a villain in Toronto, but honestly, I think the girl screaming will turn some fans off of DeMar, and he may very well be a villain now to some fans, especially the new fans. I think Sue's exactly right. I think that people that don't really know DeMar's time with us or respect it because they're Johnny-come-latelys, they may very well go this route. I think the Sue may be exactly right. We did say that he could never be a villain to us, but at least to us real ones that know the history. And I feel like that's still true, even after what crazy things happened last night. But I think you're right. There's going to be a toxic part of our fan nation that is going to be very much like turning on DeMar. They won't honor him in the same way that he should be honored, no matter what, still, just because of this. Some of it is just current recency bias. Is they're going to only think about the recent stuff because these people don't have any depth of knowledge from before because maybe they weren't fans and they weren't involved and they don't understand the importance of what he did in the almost 10 years that he played for our team. Then they're really more like fans in the last 4 years. They may very well fall in this category that Sue has described here. And I think you're right. Play It Again, Sue on YouTube. Music reactions every single day with Chelsea and the crew. Check out Play It Again, Sue. Always good stuff. She's like reacting to Baba O'Reilly, all kinds of great old music, country, rock, every type of music she's listening to on that channel. Good stuff by Play It Again, Sue. Check it out on YouTube. Race Mode is here. DeMar's daughter screaming is fair play. I'm not mad about it. I'm not playing the blame game and pointing fingers. I just appreciate Kyle even more. Bring back Kalo 7. All right. Race Mode is on that bring back Kyle Lowry to Toronto tip. He did say he wanted to retire as a Raptor. And in some ways, Miami does not appreciate him in the correct way. So maybe they would be willing to let him come back to see us again. And I'm sure Kyle wouldn't mind coming back up here and playing for us again. Although in some ways, DeMar said he'd only come back here if Kyle came back. But I bet you Kyle would come back without DeMar because he'd have Freddie and he'd have all the young guys still. So I'm all about this. And I know that Edmund, in some ways, Edmund's opinion on this is very, partly because he's a parent and he has young children, that he has to look at it from the father's perspective on this. So him saying that he's not mad about it and not playing the blame game with her makes a lot of sense. And I think that a lot of people that have young children or daughters would probably understand this whole situation as from DeMar's perspective as a parent in some ways. That sometimes you just can't control your kids, and your kids do things that you did not realize they were going to do. And I think that's what happened. DJ saying, if the people around that kid were real fans, they would have drowned that kid out. I blame the fans. Well, DJ, how do you do that in this situation? What it is everybody's trying to be quiet because they want to be quiet for the free throws. So you're going to add more noise to drown her out? That doesn't work that way. That's why it's so effective. Like if we get road games, I want little kids for us in other arenas doing this kind of shit to help us. And then we'll see if some people get thrown out at that point. Let's keep going. Nameless is saying DeMar DeRozan is now a meme. Congratulations. She's definitely a meme. She's definitely a legend in some ways. Like Fred VanVleet Jr. was a legend for his part in the finals, his birth. DeMar DeRozan is now a legend in Raptors history and in NBA history to a degree also. I wonder about what other NBA fans from other fan bases, we've seen Sixers fan in here a little bit today, how they look at the whole situation. If they've ever remember a situation like this happening with their franchise at any point. I don't know if it has. Sue's saying, and honestly, I'm tired of the mantra that we owe DeMar. It is a business at the end of the day, and he did a lot for us, and we must respect that, but we don't owe him anything to the detriment of us. I would have disagreed with you up until yesterday that the debt is paid at this point, Sue. Whatever bad feelings and what happened with the trade, you're exactly right. It's a business, and Masai didn't do anything wrong. It was an emotional thing. And in some ways, it's kind of like you just screwed over a loyal guy to your team that really did love this place and wanted to be here forever. That's the part that drives me nuts, because it's, you can look at the part of like the business side, like you say, and its numbers and like the way the world looks at everybody right now. But we need more than ever people to look at things more humanistically. And in some ways, what happened with DeMar is much deeper than just trading you to the Spurs. There was a depression. There was a lot of negative things that happened to him. He went into a tailspin, and he had a really hard summer that year. And the heart in me feels for him in that way. Well, that stuff in some ways is even now. In some ways, he's in a good place. He got that good feeling to get back against us, eliminating us. And in some ways, his daughter doing it the way she did, she evened the score. And then to me, I don't think we owe him anymore at this point. That I agree with you. That I'm not going to feel sorry for him anymore about us trading him. He's got his get back as of last night. And there's no more like this. We cannot be nice to DeMar anymore. We can love him and honor him and retire his jersey when he retires. But there's no more like feeling like we owe him because of what we did to him in this trade with Kawhi. There's no more of that. This is all even at this point because of last night. Wayne's saying, listen, Lex, no wrong was done to DeMar. He's a damn NBA player, and players get traded. He did miss a payment of his salary and no demotion in his lifestyle. Again, not DeMar's fault, but he's a bull. And Sue's saying she 100% agrees with Wayne. I understand what y'all are saying. And if you look at it cut and dry, like the business world and everything in this world wants us to look, that's the way you should look at it. But I don't look at things that way. I look at things in a very humanistic way. I don't look at these guys as just another player on our roster, another spot on our roster in our rotation. I look at them as human beings. And I understand DeMar's plight and fight with depression. And you got to understand all the tragedies in his life from when he was younger, the people that are murdered around him, the issues and different things that happened around him. There's a lot to it that I care about because he's somebody I cared about for like 10 years and got to know really, really well as one of our main guys on the team. And that's part of it right there, is that he is really very much family still, even though he plays for another team. And I'm not somebody who's just business only. In some ways, I very much take the humanistic like point of view and perspective on things. And this does matter. If there was any trade in the whole history of the NBA that had an adverse effect on somebody, this has to be one of them. The one with Kawhi and DeMar. And I mean, we could poo-poo it and say, yeah, he got all his money. It's just the business. It's just how it is. But we blindsided him. It was just like a survivor tribal council. He didn't think he was going to get his name written on the parchments and get his tribe torch snuffed by Jeff Probst. No, Messiah, in fact, told him in Las Vegas the week before he did it that everything's fine. He had dinner with him in Las Vegas at Summer League, and then he turned around and traded him right after that. So in some ways, he was very much like traumatized by the deal. So this, you guys are poo-pooing it a little bit. There is trauma in it, and it is very deep. And that's why it's different. It's different. Normally, I would say trades are trades and business is business. But this is a totally different kind of thing, what happened with DeMar. And especially to see him get traded to San Antonio and go to a team that was not doing well at all, and then see everything he built up go shooting on up into a Larry O'Brien. Yeah, I'm sorry. This is not the same. And I'll respectfully disagree with both Wayne and Sue on this take that it's not just the business side. You got to take everything into account with this situation. Kenny saying it's sad we are discussing this. That scream has nothing to do with the game. This is not golf. Waving hands is more disruptive than a scream the other side of the court. All right, I'm going to disagree with Kenny because listen, as I said before, the white noise and the all active like motion of the whole entire crowd is different than a singular voice that is very timed. And it has to do with timing. Like when OG took his first free throws, she did it while he was on his wind up coming up. And he was like, whoa, it jarred him. And it very much influenced the way the ball came off his hands to miss the free throw. So it's a singular voice in silence is very effective. And that is why, Kenny. And that's why they don't want anybody doing the same damn thing at a putting green at the 18th hole when somebody's trying to win a fucking Masters or PGA Tour or something. You know, when somebody does something like that and they're like, oh, it's very frowned upon there. Well, this is a similar kind of thing, but it's very much hard to police in an NBA arena. Let's see. Seymour saying, I'm lead hand today at work. Everyone's asking me what to do. I'm like, hey, I'm busy. Raptor Freaks is on. Seymour, I'm gonna give you a dunk just because this is hilarious, man. That is hilarious, man. Everybody's getting dunks today. I love it. All right, Seymour, you've got 6 dunks now. Awesome. You're second behind Kareem with 6 dunks. That is hilarious. Dude, listen, if they need work to do, tell them to go do something. Don't be Nick Nurse right now, Seymour. Give your players on your team objectives and roles and get them out there working and stop being casual, sitting on the bench, listen to Raptors Free. Get up off your seat, Nick Nurse, Seymour Pape, and get you guys going. I love you, Seymour. You're awesome. Shirkan said, almost 60 people watching right now. Holy crap. That was earlier. It's like our therapy session. Let's smash the button for the algorithm. Looking forward to the offseason. Management needs to make some bold moves. Trust in Masai. The exuberance, the excitement, the way you're living your life, Shirkan, you are a great role model for everyone around you, I'm sure, because you just seem like a positive sunbeam of light in this world right now. And I appreciate your enthusiasm the day after our season ended and what you're saying about looking forward. This is awesome. Yeah, I'm looking so forward to continuing to interact with you here on this channel. All right, let's see. Lux is saying, have no doubt DeMar sanctioned this. No, he didn't. She switched sides. DeMar could have said stop, but prioritized revenge over discipline and public opinion. I'm not complaining though. All is love and fair, and all is fair in love and war. All right, Lux, I'm going to tell you, he did not tell her to do this. He did not know she was going to do this. He found out in the middle of the game, just like everybody else. He heard the screeching, and then he kind of like probably had one of these oh shit moments, like, oh shit, it's my daughter, DR. Oh shit. It was probably more like that than him like thinking, like putting her up to it, or her, like she did it on her own. She did it on her own, and he had no idea. He had no idea this. And like he's in the middle of the game, he can't be distracted. Like, is he supposed to go over there and tell her to stop? like be a dad in the middle of the games, discipline her. It's like, what are you doing? Be quiet. I don't know what you do in that situation. It's unprecedented in some ways. And in some ways, he's just doing what he's supposed to do is play the game and concentrate on playing in the game. And I don't know. I don't know. I don't think he put her up to it. Honestly, he did not put her up to it. He didn't even know. The way he talked about it after the game, he was very surprised it happened. And in some ways, like I said, he seemed embarrassed to a degree. DJ saying DeMar got revenge, sadly. I bet he's a great father, though. And his daughter is a daddy's girl. Yeah, it said on the jacket. Raptors didn't learn all his tricks. Laugh out loud. Even more respect for him now. I can't. I'm not upset with anything DJ said here. I mean, he did get revenge, and that's what I'm saying. He's got his revenge now. We know Casey got his revenge. We know now DeMar got his revenge. In some ways, DeMar had not gotten his revenge until he got it last night. So all debts are paid. We're all clean slate now. Evened out now. Okay, DeMar? Going forward? No, we're not feeling sorry for you in any kind of way. We're going to be cutthroat. We don't feel like we owe you nothing. You got this win last night in an elimination game. You single-handedly, y'all put us out. And now you feel good about it. This all balances are balanced at this point. That's right. Leslie is saying, I miss Kyle. Can we just sign him back? We need him for 2 years. Even if we don't get him as a player again, I'd love to have him. Maybe he does need to come and coach our team. Holy crap. If he was our head coach, like what if Kyle retired this after a bad playoff run with the Miami Heat? They finish up. Maybe they lose tomorrow night to DeMar and the Bulls get the first round against the Milwaukee Bucks. And Kyle retires suddenly. And then all of a sudden he's announced as the head coach of the Raptors for next season. Wouldn't that be amazing? That would be the craziest turn of events ever. But Kyle's probably wanting to play more. And I think he's still under contract for next season. But if that happened, I would not be upset. That would be a crazy turn of events that I'd be all about. Kyle Lowry suddenly retires, and then all of a sudden he's the coach of the Raptors next season. That would be really weird. It may not be good for us. He's not necessarily got the best reputation with the referees. And him being a rookie coach, it could be very Steve Nash kind of shit kind of going on. So I don't know. It may not be a good thing. MSJ saying, I will say it again. Lowry coached the team to a chip. Speaking on what we just said, more to the X's and O's of a Nick Nurse clipboard. Coaching inspires the players to win. Broken play, win. Hurt, win. Bad calls, win. Missed shot, run. That's what I'm saying. Where's the motivation, Nick? Where's lighting the fire under the players' asses to do the best that they can possibly to get the best possible winning outcomes? You didn't have that this season. And that's a huge fail. Huge fail. All right, we're over 3 hours. I'm going to finish up the comments and we'll get done for the day. Trevor saying Nick did not even try to stop Levine last night. He was getting to the basket whenever he wanted to. Yeah. Click saying Fred or Gary are gone for sure. I'm going to say probably at least one of them are gone, and I'm hoping it's Gary. I really do value Fred. Nameless is saying, I'm so hot right now. I may stay off socials. Yeah, it's not a good idea to be on Twitter or Facebook and Raptor spaces right now. There's all kinds of stupid asinine opining right now by idiots. And a lot of them haven't been around long enough to really respect DeMar or to even understand our history or even understand how hard it is to win a championship. So there's just people talking out their ass right now. I'm looking for blood, especially this summer. I want to see beads roll. Heads roll. I'm guessing you meant heads roll. Voglio Sangoon. He wants blood. Voglio Sangoon. Oh, I'm trying to do the emote. Guardian saying, why in that fourth quarter with Levine going off did Nick not shut him down? Call time out. Do your job. Get OG on him. Switch OG from DeMar to Zach Levine. Why not? You got OG, plumbing company. Shut the water off. Put the water off. What the fuck are you doing, Nick? Late adjustments. No adjustments. Losing. That's what you're doing. Let's see. Monique saying, thank you for following my journey with this team. Built many friendships because of this channel. Raptors for life. We love you, Monique. This has been a fantastic season in some ways because of the growth of our Raptors Freak family and our more getting together and being more together and connecting. And I love that part of the whole aspect of things. If we've been more successful as a team in different ways, that would have been even better. But at least we've been successful in our Raptor Freak family this year. And we continue to go forward with that and more growth and more good times and meeting up and doing good stuff. You go, Monique. You are such a great leader for our Raptor Freak family, and we love you. We love you very much. All right. Shane is saying, in a year full of confusing disappointment, I look forward to seeing the moves in the offseason and enjoying offseason content with the CEO of the Raptor Freaks. Cheers to you, Lex. Bam, Shane Waters. Bam, 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 bam. Well, I'm not business oriented, so don't call me no CEO. No, I'm just the dude on the screen that's talking. That's all. And I'm just like all y'all. Nothing any different. Nameless is saying, drop a like, people. Lex is on a hyperdrive today. Spitting fire. I'm trying. I'm trying to make sense of all this. I'm trying to get the therapy session done. I'm trying not to overreact. I'm trying not to chicken little. I'm trying not to burn the whole fucking house down like some of these Raptors fans want right now. No reason to burn everything down. We got good stuff going. It's just that you don't think so because there's been dysfunction. We're going to fix it. We're going to find out who the mole is, and we're going to kick the mole out. And his name may be Nick Nurse. Let's see. Shirkan saying Isaac is right about the bench failing us this season. Let's keep this number in mind, 21-8, which was bench points difference last night. Management failed us this year by not getting any help for the core. Now, see, I disagree with you guys. I don't think it's on Masai. I think he gets good players. He gets people like Joe Easy. He got Will Barton. He got Jakob Pertl. He's picking guys up and bringing them in as the needs are whining and crying about. Oh, we need more three-point shooting. Will Barton. Joe Easy. Oh, we need a center. We got you, Jakob. So I can't blame the management. They're giving him the pieces. He just doesn't use the pieces right. He could have used Joe Easy way better this season. He didn't even use him. He didn't even give him a chance to get going. He could have used him. He just didn't find a way to use him. It's Nick Nurse's fault. I do not blame the front office. He had the guys. He had the tools. He misused them. He mismanaged them. So, yeah, I'm not getting on front office. They listened. Will Barton was a listen, and they said, yeah, we'll get you Will Barton. Oh, you want a center? We can finally get you Jakob. Here you go. Here's Jakob. So above, so below. So my comment was removed. Who and why, Lex? I said nothing to warrant it, but if Lex said to, I don't understand. Did you have a comment removed? I don't like that. I did not see you get a removed comment. I'm going to make you a moderator. You are going to get moderation branch, and as above, so below. You will now hopefully know your comments will fall through the cracks. It may be YouTube did it to you. I did not see anybody that has a mod remove any of your comments. So if that happened, I don't see, I don't know, maybe just rewrite it and we'll get it read this time for sure. G saying, for me, have wanted a jerk on this team for a while now. If we get one, let's embrace the need for it and try not to tame them. Well, maybe Scotty can be this guy. Seriously, Scotty can be a jerk. Scotty can be a little bit arrogant, and Scotty can have that swagger. It's just that we got to allow it to develop and be okay. It's just we got to do it in a healthy way. Some of his showmanship is turning around and looking at people and flexing and doing all that kind of stuff. But there's a certain part of his attitude that can very much be this kind of guy. But I don't know if we want that much of him to be that way, because in some ways it's toxic Scotty. I don't know. Like in some ways, we do want somebody like Patrick Beverley just to come in and be this dude for us. I totally get it. A jerk. We need a jerk. G saying, as above, so below. I don't see that on our end. Sometimes YouTube does it for some weird reason. Yeah, G didn't see any comment. I didn't either. So it could either be it didn't send through properly, or it could be YouTube did some shit. So I gave you a wrench. So the wrench means you should get everything on there for sure. That's why I give people wrenches. Do not use it to moderate. Just use it so that you can get your messages in for sure. Click saying, in a one and done game, you play your best players. Malachi Flynn has gotten many chances. He's trash. Our bench is trash. Gary was a no-show. Masai has a lot of work. It's time to choose a direction. I can't disagree with anything that Click's saying here for the most part. Malachi has gotten a lot of chances. This is very true. He has been trash at times, but he's also been pretty good at times too. But this is the thing. Nick's had Malachi for 3 years. He should really understand him and what the best situations are to play him in. And he doesn't find those situations. He never finds like niche situations where Malachi is a really good idea to put in there. And that's why I think he fails at using his bench in good rotational roles, specialty roles, situational roles. Because Malachi could be used in situational reasons, but he hasn't. He's never given him those kind of specialty roles. It's just very much wait until maybe Fred gets hurt, and then we'll lean on you very heavy. Yeah, fuck that. You should have been figuring out like little special cases, even if you bring him out just for a play. Like you could bring him out for 30 seconds and just have him be a spark or have something to do with something, just ingratiate him or give some usage to him. That is the stuff that Nick fails at completely on our team, that he just does not do that kind of shit. And Gary was a no-show. That pissed me off. Bench is trash, but it's because Nick doesn't know how to use a bench. And yeah, Masai does have a lot of work for sure. DJ saying if Gary sunk that last 3-pointer, he would have been a big hero. I know. That was such a crucial shot, and it would have been a tie turner, and we would have possibly still won if he had just hit that three. When he missed that three, I was like, we're gonna fucking lose. And I fucking am so mad at our guys for missing open threes. I'm so mad. And don't get me started on the free throws. Oh my gosh. Oh, Mugarbe saying, ride or die. Hang on. It jumped a little bit. Let me see. La 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 la. Hang on. Where is it? Mugarbe. That's where I'm at. Mugarbe. Man. All right. Don't comment anymore. I'm going to try and wrap up the stream very soon. Okay. Where is the last comment that I read? Ooh, Starscream's here. Okay, we got Nets fan in here with us too. All right, yeah, definitely don't write any more comments. We're done taking new comments for the day, unless I specifically ask you to write something or it's something else. Mugabe's saying, ride or die for me. Let's go, Raps. Get that new coach. That's what I like to hear from Raptor Freak. Ride or die. Stick with your team. Whether they win or lose, you're with them. You are there with them. And that is what a real fan is. Cool Cat saying a major mistake was changing Fred from shooting guard in the first half to pointing guard in the second half. Fred is effective as a shooting guard. You're talking about in the game, not in the season, right? You're talking about just specifically in the game last night. Maybe you are talking about the whole season. I don't know. We needed somebody to be a point guard, and Scotty wasn't ready to be the point guard. And we're not going to do a two guard lineup, point guard lineup with Malachi and Fred. I hate that too. It's tough to figure out. I don't know if you mean the game or the season. I think you mean the season. Seymour saying hard to say this, but Kawhi was right. Them mans ain't good enough. That cat's out of the bag. Well, that's not true. When he said that, that wasn't true. If he had stayed on our team, we would have repeated. We were so good the next year. And I don't even care if there was a bubble interruption. We would have fucking won in the bubble too. That team was so good. We had the best record in the league. We had the best record in Raptors history without Kawhi the year after. We still had Mark and Serge. We still had all the principal people. He would have repeated if he had stayed. So he was wrong at that time when he said that. That may be true now, Seymour. But it's not true when he said it. And he was a knucklehead for thinking that and believing that. And Uncle Dennis, fuck you. Because he could have repeated with us. Seriously, we were ready to repeat. David's saying, yeah, he's not a very good point guard. Agreed, Cool Cat. I don't agree with that. Fred's a fine point guard. He's our best point guard on our team. MSJ saying, good story for the DeRozan family for sure. If I was a Bulls fan, the girl would be a hero today, but she won't do that again. It's a one and done. F the Raptors scream. Laugh out loud. Kind of funny, really. That's what I'm telling y'all. Let's not be angry about this. Let's just kind of laugh about this. In some ways, there's a real comedy to it that a 10-year-old little girl actually like ended our season. There's a real comedy to that. Seriously, can you not see the humor in this? That a 10-year-old girl of one of our legends, the daughter of one of our legends, ended our season. There is comedy in this. So let's get comedy out of it. Let's work the situation in our favor. She's definitely a hero in Bulls Nation. Definitely, for sure. Starscream saying, I'm confused, Lex. Why did security allow that little girl to scream like that? We have our own super fan, MR Whammy, that used to make noises at people doing free throws, and the NBA made him stop. Interesting. I don't know why they let her do that for so long. And this is a Nets fan. Starscream is from Brooklyn Nation, and they're saying that they've had somebody that had to. They told their super fan to shut up from doing that. Now I know Nab doesn't make noise, but he'll throw the towel, and they don't get mad at him for that. Now that may be suspicious, and that could kind of be something that they tell him to stop doing because it's distracting. But they're all doing weird stuff with the beaters and all that kind of stuff, so it kind of makes sense. That's interesting. So this is a perspective from Nets Nation saying that their security has made their own super fans stop doing that in their own arena. So why the hell was she allowed to do that? She could get away with it in the one and done deal of it. It was really a one and done. I think it was MSJ. I think you're exactly right. And that's why Starscream, I don't know. It's crazy. Like, how do you feel about it, Starscream, as a Nets fan, seeing the whole thing, how it went that way last night? It's crazy. Monique saying, how was the broadcast side of things? Update, please, both sides. I watched the ESPN broadcast, the American broadcast. So I did not hear Matt and Jack. I heard Doris Burke and Mark Jones, brother of Paul Jones, call the game. They did a very nice tribute to Greg Francis. They were very glowing and talking about us, Monique. They were saying so many nice things, pumping up OG for Defensive Player Awards, talking about Scotty, saying things like this. Was Doris Burke was saying everybody's critical about Scotty not being as good as he was last year in his rookie year because his numbers are slightly down, but they're crazy, is what she said. Look at what he's doing out there. And he would do the play where he did the up and under and he finished in traffic. When he did that play, she said that is a case in point exactly of how Scotty has progressed and developed and became a better player this season in his second year. Even if his stats didn't all jump, you can see he developed and got better as a player this year for sure. And I love that kind of stuff that they were saying. Now, Monique, could you hear DeMar's daughter screaming in the arena when you were there in the arena? Because we could hear it like crazy on the television. That we heard it very much on the broadcast. If you go and watch any of the highlights from the game last night, you probably hear her screaming. Eric Jacobs saying, we have so much speed and athleticism on the bench. We should have been running everyone hard all season. That's how we win fourth quarters, get against tired opponents. Well, that's how other teams beat us, Eric. And this is something I was like hoping Nick Nurse would do this even last year, but he hasn't figured this out in 2 years. That if you have so many good premium athletes, you want to get them all more even time, use more of the bench guys, get them more developed, and have like I would value instead of having the premium guys out there playing all the minutes all the time, I would value having fresh guys on the court, guys that are absolutely not tired in any kind of way, and constantly having fresh energy coming in, cascading in over and over again. And you have a revolving door with your rotation. That's the word, where you have guys go and sit so they get fresh and then they come back in and they're fresh in the next wave. But we never get that because we absolutely overtire our players by playing them way too fucking long in too long periods so that they're absolutely tired at the end. So it's the exact thing what Eric Jacob is saying against us. And that Nick, I always thought all along, he has Precious, he has Chris, he has Gary, he has Will Barton, he has Thad Young, he has Malachi, he has Delano, he has Koloko. He should have been melding these guys in, even for just like 1 or 2 minute periods with the starters and really evening things out and making sure if you have any players on the court holding their ankles or huffing and puffing, Nick, get them out. Any signs of any kind of fatigue or hurt, you take them out immediately because you want fresh guys coming in and just having that bursting energy that goes all out on defense. And if you do it correctly, you ride the surfboard right, you can balance the talent with the bench and the starters so that there's no drop off like we've seen in second quarters, and everybody's fucking not as tired at the end of the game. That is what coaching is managing your guys with fatigue. And you just run them ramshod to the ground. And that is why we get the outcomes at the end of the games. That Eric Jacob is exactly right. This is what they're doing to us. They're playing against us, the tired opponents, and excelling because our coach runs them to the ground. Shir Khan saying we can land 13th pick at worst and 11th pick as best. That's not true. We can do better. We need Oklahoma City and Chicago to make the playoffs. Top dozen or so players are pretty good in the draft. At least we tried and had some good wins toward the end. I like the optimism altogether. You're aiming too low. Now, we could probably, the worst we could do is maybe the 13th pick, but we could get a very lucky ball and we could get as high as like 5th or 6th. That's the way it works, Shere Khan, is we get a ping pong ball in that machine. And when they pull those ping pongs, they pull the first one as the first pick. Well, in that machine, we may only have 1 or 2 ping pong balls out of the 100 in there, but we do have 2 ping pong balls in there. And those 2 ping pong balls could be the first pick. That it could actually come out and say Toronto Raptors have the first pick in the draft. It's just what percentage of those ping pong balls in the machine, which one will come out and which probability. And that we, with the first pick, well, we don't have a very good chance for it. The second pick, we don't have a very good chance for it. But each time going down, we had a better chance of possibly jumping up to any of those picks above us. So don't limit us to 11th at best. We could get the first pick still. It's just the chances aren't very likely. But we do have a ping pong ball in that machine that if it comes out first, we get the first pick in the draft. That's the truth of it. That's how the lottery works. So, it's very, very much probability based, what's realistic. But the truth is, we could still get the first pick, but we have like a 1% chance of getting the first pick, basically. And then going down, it's everyone after that gets better. Like we have a very much better chance of getting the fourth pick or the fifth or the sixth all the way down. David's saying, has Nick been fired yet? If not, why the fuck not? Yeah, don't delay, Masai. Don't delay. I mean, I know you want to give him some time. This may be what they do. They may very well respect his wishes to go and have a couple weeks off. Then he'll come back. They'll meet with him. They'll figure out whether he is a right fit for us going forward. And then they'll either can him right then, or they'll decide they want to continue with him. So I don't know if we are going to get this decision today, or we may get it in a week, or we may get it in 2 weeks. I don't know. It's really on the schedule of how Masai wants to do this. And he's going to do his due diligence to make sure he makes the right decision, because this isn't a decision you want to do rashly. You really want to make sure you're making the decision you want to make for the right thing for the Raptors in the future. I'm pretty sure he's got to go, but we need to figure out and do it the correct way. But so it may not be rushing it. DJ saying, if I was Masai, I would do as little as possible trade-wise. Raptors lost 14 games by 4 points. That ain't shit. Very young team still. Main guys making strides. These games are the experience. I agree with DJ. I don't like trading any of the players. If we can keep the players as much as possible, they're continuing to develop, and they are showing signs that they can still turn the corner and be a very good team. I think the leadership of the team, the coach, needs to go, and that we may get very, very much dramatic, better results next season with a coach like Earl Watson. Starscream saying there's no way it didn't affect them. Everyone is all quiet and right. When you're about to release the ball, you hear a blood-curdling scream. Laugh out loud. Heck, it affected me, and I was at home. This is Nets fan. This is how much power DeMar DeRozan has as a 10-year-old with her lungs and vocal cords. She was affecting Starscream at his house in, I'm going to guess somewhere in New Jersey or in New York. Yeah, this makes sense. This is crazy. We're getting an unbiased view from another fan nation not involved in the game last night. And they very much do believe that her screaming did have an impact on our free throw percentage. Rorschach saying, what did the Velociraptor really sound like? DeMar DeRozan at a Raptors game. Ah! You know what? You're getting a dunk, Rorschach. Well, you guys are doing good with the dunks today. Rorschach getting his third dunk ever. There you go. I like that. That sound did kind of sound like a Velociraptor. Everybody thought it was an eagle. It kept making me think of the Hawks little in-game thing where they do the Hawks noise over their like sound system every once in a while. It's very much like some sort of raptor bird sound, like an eagle or something. Isaac saying, I agree. Nick Nurse is gone. Thad is gone. I fear we lose Gary as an asset. Played the fucking bench already. Yes, Isaac. Isaac's just had enough. He's pissed. He's just had enough. The benevolent Isaac Campbell is not benevolent at this point anymore with his views on Nick Nurse. And I am with him. And I'm pretty sure Thaddeus is gone too. We can already tell he's checked out. And yeah, Gary, you may have checked out too. Less clutch on our team, the better probably. Get a few less clutch people on our team. That might be good. Fiercey saying we will be there this summer, 9:30 a.m. sharp. Thank you, Fiercey. Thank you, family. To continue tomorrow, we will be doing a Friday freak out. It will probably be me ranting and raving against our nation about overreacting to us ending our season. That's pretty much what it's going to be tomorrow. I'll be watching all the noise today. I'll soak it all up from Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and I'll see what asinine opinions people are having about what happened yesterday, and I will go off on them tomorrow. So if you're interested in seeing me go off on people tomorrow, you'll see that tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. Lux is saying, DeMar feasted on us. Kyle will feast on him. Trae Young will then prey on what's left of Kyle. Giannis will devour the rest. Eat. he's got like little puppy dogs. Dog eat dog world. I like that. Lux, you're getting a strike. No, you're getting a dunk. This is interesting. I think this may be the first time this ever happened, that somebody's gotten a strike and a dunk on the same stream. So Lux, what a turn of events. You're getting a dunk after getting a strike earlier. So that's pretty awesome. I like that. I like the little emoticons. And I think this is funny that you said that the DeMar feasted on us. Kyle will feast on him. You know, it's going to be a crapshoot. I don't have any faith in the Miami Heat, but I don't have any faith in the Bulls either. So it really is kind of going to be a 50-50 crapshoot between Miami and Chicago tomorrow. I don't even give Miami a home court advantage, especially if DeMar does let his daughter be there. Maybe he's like, DR won't be allowed to come to this game, but my second oldest daughter will be there this time. Like, I don't know. That could happen. It could. You know, DeMar's got a couple of daughters, and maybe the second daughter comes and does it this time for the next game against Miami. She's not coming, but the other one is. Seymour saying, okay, we ain't no school shooters or drag queens. Let's leave the kid alone on the, in my opinion, next topic. There you go. I'm with you on that. I don't even know what those two references have to do with kids, but yeah, I'm with you on this. Starscream saying Canadians' reputation for being nice worked against you guys. Laugh out loud, because I promise you, if she was doing that in New York, some edgelord fan would have told her to shut the fuck up. Well, I'm pretty sure there were people yelling her that kind of stuff at her. I'm pretty sure there were probably fans right around her. I heard a couple say, please shut up. Don't do that. I heard somebody yell very plainly after she did it. Don't do that. I heard one person say that on the microphone. I don't know. I mean, in some ways, I kind of get what you're saying, but even if another fan yelled at her in like the Nets in Barclays Center, would they stop? I mean, maybe the kid would be like, no, and be like the same kind of New York attitude. Fuck you, you know, fuck you. If you fucking shut up. No, you fucking shut up. There could be some of that. And then is the usher going to get involved and then throw them out? That's what I'm wondering. Would they throw her out in Barkley? I don't think they would. I do not think they would. That's a player's daughter. That opens a whole other can of worms. If it's a regular fan and just some guy who works in the city's daughter, that's different. But when it's an all-star player's daughter, that's a little different. That's a little different. And in some ways, it's harmless. It's not like she's cussing. It's not like she's in some ways, she's just being a fan and doing what fans do. It's crazy. Smooth saying, well, Toronto found an all-time way of losing a game. It's a weird way, Smooth. It's such a weird way. A fitting end to a most disappointing season. It was DeMar, so that's okay. Brighter days ahead. I love that attitude, and I'm with you. I mean, listen, if we're going to be Fredo in that boat and Michael's going to shoot us and leave us out, I knew it was you, Fredo. I'm glad it was him that did it. I'd much rather lose to DeMar and settle up this imbalance between him and us. We're all settled now. Everything's even now at this point, DeMar. You got your revenge. I'd much rather settle that and get that cleared out going forward than, you know, go out to somebody else that I hate. You know, I don't want to lose to a team that I hate. I'd much rather lose to somebody I love, like DeMar. David's saying, can't believe we lost to DeRozan's daughter. I know, David. Isn't this crazy? We worked this whole entire season so hard, battled back and forth trying to get to 500, battled so hard, went through all the adversity, the injuries, the referee hit jobs, every single thing, all the traveling, everything to get to this point, to be beaten by DeMar's 10-year-old daughter. I know it's crazy. In some ways, it's so crazy you just have to laugh about it. You really do. In some ways, it's just silly. Eric's saying that top 6 pick for Pirtle is looking brilliant right now. Another Masai fail. I don't agree with that, Eric. A lot of people are mad about the Jakob deal, and I think that deal is so good, and it's important for us going forward. I don't give a shit about that top 6 pick. We know we don't care about that. And in fact, that's part of Masai's calculations on this, is maybe he doesn't care about where that is with that. And he cares more about where we're at right now. And maybe he doesn't see that much difference between the 6th pick and the 13th pick, or wherever we're going to end up picking between 13 and 6. So he could end up with the 6th pick anyway. That's what I'm saying. I was trying to say earlier, it's up to the ping pong balls. It has nothing to do with anything else. And because we lost in the play-in, we're in the ping pong balls. We wouldn't be otherwise. Like if we had won and beat Miami tomorrow and we're playing Milwaukee in the first round, we don't get a ping pong ball. We're just automatically like the 15th pick in the team. It's the lottery is very much the teams that don't play in the playoffs. So we're in the lottery. That means we actually have a chance, like statistically, at the first pick, all the way up to the first and down, but not a very good chance. We'll put it that way. But I don't say that as a Messiah fail. I'm so happy we have a center. We needed that center, and getting a center like him is very important. Now, if he doesn't sign back with us this summer for some weird reason because of our dysfunction, and it's been a dumpster fire, and Jakob's like, you know what? I did want to come back to Toronto, but y'all fucked things up so bad here. I need to leave. That will really like be sad and mess me up because we worked so hard to get a center back on our team. We need him to come back and stay here. I think he will. And I think we will throw money at him. But that could be a fuck up. If they don't complete signing Jakob back this summer, then I will say you're right, Eric, about this. Nameless is saying that kid was allowed to exploit her status and age. What does a screaming baby do to a subconscious psyche of a man? It was psychological warfare that struck at our primitive response instincts. There's so much truth to this. Nameless is exactly right. That there's something in the psyche of a man, of a screaming child. So true. That is so true. Oh my gosh. And you're right. Exactly. She exploited her status and her age very effectively, in a very, very effective way. Still a child. That's right. She is still a child. We have to keep that perspective, and that's what's important here. Starscream saying, is Kyle really more popular than DeMar to Raptors fans? I know Kyle won the chip, but I feel like DeMar was really Mr. Raptor. He scared me way more than Kyle did. All right, this is Nets fans once again saying this. They're pretty even. Everybody just says Kyle is the GOAT because he did win a championship, and that's the difference between him and DeMar. But in a lot of ways, they're very even, and they were when they played for the team together. We didn't really hierarchy them against each other. They were very kind of even in our minds and hearts. It was really because Kyle stuck around and got the championship after we traded DeMar is why he gets a little more status. But on my greatest Raptors of all time list, DeMar is number 2 after Kyle, even without a championship. Pascal's number 3, Fred's number 4, and then we got Vince Carter at number 5. So it's in my hierarchy, I look at him very, very, very close to Kyle, and the championship is the only thing that kind of separates them. DJ saying they use reffing against us, take our players, our online analyzers, even deploy our own cutesy Canadian tricks against us. What's next? It sucks when you're playing checkers and others play chess. Listen, we could be the ultimate underdog. We can have all the odds stacked against us. It's just like a really good movie where the protagonist has everything laid out against them, against the odds, and they still succeed. And that's just how we got to be. We won a championship before. We can do it again. And it may not be as easy as the Celtics being able to get another championship because there are things that are fighting against us. But one thing I will just tell you, DJ, a good way to live your life is to not look at the obstacles. Look at the ways to get to some places, because sometimes those obstacles are mirages and they may actually hold you back more mentally than they actually do in real life. So I will just tell you, train your perception to see rosy situations and winning situations instead of all the things fighting against you, because those things fighting against you will drag you down if you stay with them too much. You got to rise above it all, and you can't use it all as excuses either. I know I use a lot of excuses on this channel because I do like to really like stand up for them and talk about why things happen. But ultimately, I would like the Raptors to get to a point where I don't have to make excuses for them because they play so badass. They just win and are successful all the time. That is the ultimate goal. But until then, I will make excuses for them until they get their act together. Kareem saying, BK, click 8. Blah, blah, blah. What is all that? I think Kareem's on hanging from a building again, and he just hit a couple things by accident. I don't know. It's pretty cool. Nameless is saying, the fact it was a child is what makes her tactics so effective. Lex, you can scream until you're blue in the face at these players. It will still not produce the same response. Try if you want. Yeah, her timing was impeccable. Seriously, they were talking about this. Her timing and her tenacity on it and being non-relenting and very like over and over again. This is the kind of stuff I want to see Raptors fans do with our defense chants. Be tenacious. Do never stop. Do it every single time possible when you need to do it. That means whenever the other team has the ball, be like DeMar DeRozan. Be that tenacious little thorn in the pain in the ass kind of person, in the crowd as our fans as a whole. Defensive chance, defense all the way through the game. I don't care what the score is, whether we win or not, whether it's the first quarter right after tip off, second quarter in the middle of a lull. I don't care. Every time the other team has the ball, we should be cheering defense, just like DR would be screaming when we shoot free throws, that we have to hit every mark and get it every time. If we can evolve this more with our home crowd, we will be more and more powerful in this whole entire league. We're getting closer to it. And some of the stuff y'all are doing, I can see y'all are doing it more and more. And I'm proud of y'all. The crowd has been way, way better at certain times this season with certain things. The way y'all booed Goran the other day was fantastic. The defense chant is just the next step, the next evolution of how we can evolve as a fan nation in our own building and make our home court advantage even more powerful. It's like you don't care if the other team hits a shot, a dagger, and shuts you up. No, you're defiant. You don't give a shit. Just like she was defiant and everybody telling her to shut the fuck up, you got to be defiant. Just because Dame Lillard hits a dagger and quiets the crowd all of a sudden in a three, no, you continue with the defense chance in defiance, just like DR would. And that's what I want our team, our fans in our building to evolve to. It'd be awesome. Starscream saying, wait, Lex, you're rooting for Troll Embiid against my Nets? Hell must be freezing over. All right, listen. Actually, I'm going to clarify this, Starscream. I'm actually to the best team win in this one. I'm pretty sure the Sixers are favored to win this one. Obviously, in some ways, I really want y'all to win. I love the story of Brooklyn Bridges. I really like your team now that you've kind of detoxified it, that your owner, Joe, has done a good job getting those big names out of there. And in some ways, y'all salvage your season and still have a playoff spot even after their exit. I really have a lot more respect for the Nets right now than I did when Kyrie was on it. And in some ways, I'm rooting for you to make an upset against the Sixers. So don't get it wrong. Starscream, I am actually rooting for y'all too. But in some ways, I'm like to the best team wins. I'm not very much upset either way. In some ways, I'd like to see you guys put out the Sixers. It'd be fun because y'all are the underdog. And I usually do root for the underdog. But in some ways, I also kind of want the Sixers to hang around because I'd like them to take out the Celtics. So there's a couple of different things at work here. In some ways, I'm rooting for y'all because y'all are underdogs, but I'm not necessarily rooting for the Sixers. But I think that they have probably a good chance to beat y'all. So we'll have to see. Leslie's saying Nick Nurse is gone. Pascal is number 2. It's Pascal Pippen. Freddie shouldn't have jacked up that 3 at the end of the game. Freddie, all right, let's just give Freddie some credit for the one at the halftime. That was fantastic. I love seeing that heave right at the end of the first half and bombing it. And that was so huge because that put us up by major points at the half. And it sucks that all went away in the second half. But Freddie hitting that heave 3-point half-court shot was the first one we hit all year. We had not hit a shot like that all year, and that was the first one of the season. So instead of coming down on Fred for that one, I'm going to give him credit for that one at the end of the half. Nameless is saying, this little performance of DR has now made her infamous in NBA history. For sure. For sure. She's going to be a meme. People are going to talk about it. She's going to be a legend in Chicago Bulls history. She will very much be a legend in their history. There's going to be people in the, if they still did those crazy ass Da Bears, Saturday Night Live sketches on Saturday Night Live, they brought George Wendt and those other guys out, and they did Da Bears, Da Bulls. They do an episode about DeMar DeRozan with those the Bears, the Bulls, Chicago fan guys. That shit would be hilarious if they still made those skits, but they don't because those guys are all older and they're not around that show anymore. But that would be hilarious to see like the Bulls Saturday Night Live sketch centered around DeMar DeRozan. That'd be funny. Let's see. Fiercely saying, just got a notification via Sportsnet. Nick Nurse meeting reporters earlier. He made no statement on his future. In my opinion, he should leave and make room for someone who has fresh ideas and revitalized mindset. I don't know how it works. Like, can he just walk away, resign, and then we just like cancel and null his contract? Because he's technically under contract for us next year as our coach. So it's either like we fire him or he resigns. Or he continues and comes back next season as our coach. All right. If he did an interview earlier this morning, I'm gonna have to watch it and see what he said. We're coming up on 4 hours. I'm gonna finish up. Blackhawk saying, I want DR to do the same thing in Miami. A child showing more interaction than adults. Love it. It's our right to scream and shout during free throws. Only tennis courts require quietness. I totally get behind what Blackhawk's saying here, and I am with you. I'm one of those people that shouts and gets real loud. So why would I get mad at her if it's the same fucking shit I would do if I was at the game? I'm not a hypocrite. So that's why I'm not mad at her for doing what she did, because I do the same damn thing for us at our home games. Maybe I need to go to more visiting games and be like her in other people's arenas. And also, what you said here, I love is she's not allowed to go to Miami, though. DeMar's already said she's barred from going to the game tomorrow night. He said it in the press conference afterwards. She's not allowed to come and do the same damn thing in Miami. So Nameless is saying, what? So it was calculated? DeMar told her to? That's what he meant with that post. That was his secret dirty weapon he was referring to, planted gun in the washroom scene. Nameless, I know you're not being serious. No, it was not planned. The Michael Corleone thing was not a fortuitous thing showing towards foreshadowing of her being this person. No, that's not what it is. It was not calculated. Infamous is saying, morning freaks. I have been a Raptors fan since 1995, and this top three is one of the worst losses ever. We lost to a 9-year-old. The refs didn't lose us the game. Embarrassed as a Raptors fan today. We're being laughed at. Yeah, but people are gonna laugh at things anyway. In some ways, I'm laughing at ourselves. In some ways, we got to have the ability to have a sense of humor about ourselves. That we can't take ourselves so seriously that we can't laugh about some of the situation in this situation. In fact, this may be good for some people that have a hard time not taking themselves too seriously. That in some cases, this is a good lesson for some of us how to take things a little bit less serious. And I get it, what you're saying. And I've been here since the beginning too. I don't know if it's one of our top three worst losses ever. I won't say that. I mean, I hate that we were up and they came back and won and snatched it from us. And because it was an elimination game, it is pretty bad. So I guess in some ways, yeah, it probably is in their top 10 of worst losses in our franchise history. But once again, I don't say this was a disappointment or like I'm as upset at the end of the season as I have been in other ends of seasons recently. So in some ways, I'm not as mad. And then that says something. That says something. Usually after our season ends, I'm a fucking asshole for like 2 days. And I'm not a happy person. I don't want to be, nobody wants to be around me, but I'm not. I'm not depressed. I'm not super angry. In some ways, I'm kind of like whatever and kind of casual, just like the players and the coach are. And I have to the way he is. Seriously, DeMar's not this kind of guy. He doesn't like cheap shit. Seriously, I thought you were being not just being serious. I don't think he did put her up to it. He did not. He didn't even know what was happening until in the middle of the game. You can tell by the way he talks about it in the press conference. He heard somebody making a noise, and then he realized it was her. He didn't know before the game. She did it in the game. Did not tell him she was going to do it, and she surprised everyone. Okay. Race Mode saying, do you think Kobe would be startled by a screaming 10-year-old? Everyone focusing on DeMar's daughter is comical. It's a distraction to the reality that our team wasn't cohesive this year. Let's go, DR. I think you're right. Kobe wouldn't have been distracted by her. He's better than that. And I think that we're focusing on it because in some ways there's no like challenging the evidence, Race Mode, that we shot 50% at the free throw line. We had not shot that bad all season long. And that was a different factor in the ecosystem of the game last night. So it definitely had an impact. It definitely had an impact. And I mean, it's not blaming her, I guess. It's like she was an impact, and blame the players for not like ignoring her well enough or not letting her be as not much of a factor. So yeah, I think that's what it is. In some ways, they need to have better Mamba mentality and zone out of that. Fiercely saying she was a factor, and even Stephen A. Smith mentioned it on his live show yesterday. He said it's no coincidence they shot 50%. Yeah, he never shot that worse. That was the worst free throw performance by the Raptors this whole entire season. And that is the factor right there. All right, check your own cruise here. I think I remember you saying the Raptors were going to be a number 1 seed or a top 4 at worst this season. That's why I thought this loss would be absolutely devastating. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice. Well, you're talking about what I was saying in November. You're talking about what I was saying at the beginning of the year. I like amended my like what I wanted or what I thought they would do this season pretty early when we started having trouble in like December. So yeah, that was true. I did say stuff like we could be the number one seed. We would be top four at worst if everything had gone according to plan. If we had weathered the storm of the season, the way we were with our talent and things, the way we had finished last season, yes, I believed all that, and I'll stand by me saying that at that time because I did truly believe that. Well, things didn't go our way. We had a lot of problems this year, and it went really bad. And that's just how it goes in the NBA. Like every season, every team is like this. The Celtics could have easily said, "Oh, we think we're going to be number one," and they could have been a dumpster fire instead, just like us. And it would be the same kind of shit. So I don't totally get your point on this. I will stand by what I said before. I was wrong, and things went really bad this season, and that's I don't mind saying that. I have no pride in this. So just so you know. Nameless is saying, Batia must feel the most betrayed out of anybody in the building. In some ways, we feel betrayed by him that this happened in some ways. Seymour saying, Nav treason charges are pending. You know what? You're getting another one, Seymour. You got two today. You're getting another dunk for that treason charges. Smooth saying, honestly, I'm happy it's over. Me too. The front office now has the season as a frame of reference and hopefully make the changes needed. I really hope Nick Nurse is relieved of his duties. Well, this is actually an important thing that Smooth brought up. Part of the reason why it's good that we lost is that if Nick has had some success in the postseason, it may be harder to get rid of him right now. He may have a case for saying why we shouldn't get rid of him, or maybe more cloudy about whether we should get rid of him or not. This makes it all very clear. We need to get rid of him. And in some ways, if he had won a little bit, it may have extended his time even further and made it even worse. Just think about this. If we keep Nick for next season and we have a repeat of this season, next season, we're going to feel really fucking stupid that we didn't get rid of him at the end of this season. And if he had had success in the playoffs, that may have caused Masai to say, you know what, you did better than I thought, Nick. So we're going to hang on to you for one more year and give you one more chance. I don't think so at this point. I think that this epic flaming defeat, dismal awfulness from last night, it really will put the last nail in the coffin for Nick Nurse with us as our coach. And that if we had some success, that may not have been true. So in some ways, I'm happy that we went out this way because it's going to make it easier for us to get rid of Nick. Infamous is saying, I don't understand why Nick didn't use the bench more. I don't either. I really don't. I think that he has this idea that quality is so important that he just has to overrun these guys. I don't get it. I really don't get it. It pisses me off. It's just like Casey and not being able to make adjustments in the playoffs to try and win games. That was his Achilles heel. Well, we have an Achilles heel with Nick, and it's over.